In a quiet music shop, an employee slumped over a table, visibly drained. The door swung open, and he lifted his weary gaze. A girl asked if he was Mr. Ligue. The exhausted man, eyes bloodshot and irritated, confirmed he was indeed Ligue. She introduced herself as the director of the Chinese Martial Arts Association, hailing from Guangdong. She mentioned that Ligue likely knew her grandfather, Lei Hongsheng, a figure to be called senior for his prowess. Ligue eyed her oddly, gesturing for them to sit and warning them not to test his courtesy. The girl thanked him but declined. Ligue offered to brew some fine tea. A companion asked if the old man was still as formidable. Her gaze dropped to the floor as she revealed that the elder had passed away a year ago. At this, Ligue paused mid-pour, his tea mug trembling. She expressed hope that Brother D would join her in Guangdong as a consultant for the Martial Arts Association. Ligue remarked that Ms. Lei surely knew his reputation. If she was familiar with the martial arts world, she'd know of the notorious Ligue. He questioned what aid he could possibly offer. Lei replied that infamy could be viewed in different lights. People might not respect him, but they'd certainly fear him. Ligue conceded her logic, but firmly declined her request. Ligue revealed that doctors had recently diagnosed him with acute myeloid leukemia. Lei surely knew the gravity of the illness, so he regretted disappointing her, but he couldn't assist. Lei admitted she might have overstepped by visiting, but the association was her grandfather's lifelong passion. She couldn't stand idly by as politicians twisted it into a pawn for wealth and influence. Ligue retorted that her own power struggles were what he despised most, seeing no distinction between her and those politicians. Bluntly, he added that his illness left him no strength to tackle her issues. He offered them dinner, saying he'd cook if they stayed, but if not, they should go. He also requested they light incense for the old man in his stead. Lei shared that the master always held him in high regard, teaching that a martial artist should harbor a third of malicious qi in their heart. She'd met many practitioners, but only this rogue dared to embrace not just a third, but all of the harmful qi. Whatever Li Ji's choice, she genuinely wished the elder's heart still brimmed with all three parts of that qi, and that he hadn't lost his essence. Ms. Lei and her driver left, climbing into their car. Ligue mulled over the girl's words, murmuring that they were truly striking. He announced he was shutting the shop for the day, declaring he had no desire to keep working. Suddenly, someone yanked the blinds open. Ligue, spotting the figure, mistook him for Ms. Lei's driver. The man didn't utter a word, lunging straight at him. Ligue dodged a punch, realizing escape wasn't possible without a fight. The driver seemed altered, his face eerily transformed. He aimed to kill, but Ligue hesitated to retaliate. Unable to hold back, Ligue seized the assailant's arm, flipped him over, and locked him in a hold, straining the limb to the breaking point. Ligue released him, letting him flee. His main concern was his phone, nearly shattered by the driver's assault. The driver didn't stay down long, charging again, but Ligue reacted swiftly, landing a spinning kick. The driver crashed into the wall, knocked unconscious. Ligue stared, muttering that this fiend even knew how to feign weakness. But then, Li Ji's vision flared with blinding light. He thought it might be time to slip away from this brilliance. He recalled the doctor's warning about his leukemia, urging immediate treatment if he hoped to survive. Yet his past clung to him. Each incident like this dredged up memories of battles where he ruthlessly cut down foes. Lost in thought, a portly man burst in, nudging him. Spotting the driver, he exclaimed it was impressive. Li Ji's strike had left him stunned. The man noted that letting such monsters strike first made them nearly unstoppable. But who'd expect Ligue to counter with a spinning blow, overpowering him in this clash? It said that Hejiang Li's spears and blades are unmatched, his kung fu fists just as lethal. Ligue turned to the portly man, asking where the woman who was just here had gone. Glancing back, he noticed the driver had vanished. The fat man clarified that Ligue should understand he had no ties to the girl or the driver, except that they were all drawn to him. He assured Ligue there was no cause for alarm. He'd merely planted a fleeting suggestion in the driver's mind to confront Ligue, nothing more. The man added that neither the girl nor the driver knew of his scheme. He paused, realizing he hadn't introduced himself. He told Li Ge to call him Wang Yang, or another name if that didn't suit, or simply Taper. Li Ge dubbed him Bread, chuckling if he only ate dumplings. He laughed, finding it amusing. He claimed he could save Li Ge's life. But it wasn't just that. He could offer something far greater. Li Ge, intrigued, asked why he'd do this. The bread maker urged him to try it, promising clarity, but warned it was a path he couldn't refuse. Li Ge mused it was better than drifting aimlessly toward death. Bread nodded, ready to get serious. Unleashing dark sorcery, it enveloped Li Ge, whisking him away to an unfamiliar realm. Li Ge was unconscious during the transit. Slowly opening his eyes, he glimpsed streaks of lightning. Birds darted past as the world around him shifted, plunging Li Ge into an alien realm. He lay before a building's entrance, blood coating everything. Opening his eyes, he couldn't grasp what had occurred. An unfamiliar voice urged Li Ge to rouse him, desperate to break free from chains. Events unfolded so rapidly he couldn't pinpoint his location. Abruptly, he jolted awake and rose. Surveying his surroundings, he muttered that it felt like an underground bare-knuckle brawl. But where had that portly man vanished to? A letter appeared, welcoming a gentleman to a transformed world. A new identity was crafted for him to avoid unwanted scrutiny. Now, Li Ge needn't fear anyone causing a fuss. In an instant, a list of tasks materialized before him. Noticing his talents and a percentage tied to ancient martial arts, he wondered if he could still grow stronger. A man crept up behind, aiming a sneak attack, but didn't expect Li Ge to counter his strike. He snapped, asking why Li Ge stood frozen like a statue. Get to the stage and fight. Li Ge noted the text before his eyes had faded. The man, irritated, asked what he was gawking at. Was he some kind of prodigy? Fuming, the man adjusted his suit, ordering Li Ge to follow without falling behind. Li Ge mused that if the fat man could truly transport him to 1986 Hong Kong, there was no reason to doubt his claim of curing his illness. The ring announcer called out to welcome the fighters, spotlighting the night's most wagered-on contender, known for inflicting devastating injuries. The host declared that this fighter vowed to be the last standing in the arena tonight. He instructed the fighter to head downstairs, but Li Ge stepped up instead. The host snapped that it wasn't his turn and ordered him to leave. The crowd buzzed, awaiting their champion, Jia Tsai. Their eyes locked with Li Ge's, and the announcer declared that Jia Tsai had challenged him. Li Ge strode into the ring, fearless and unshaken. The announcer introduced his opponent, Jia Tsai, hailing from Trang Province in southern Thailand, trained by a revered Muay Thai master, the Southern Star of Thailand. Jia Tsai, with 2 decades of Thai boxing training, had shattered countless Makawaras honing his strikes. Those lacking strength or endurance should think twice before challenging him in the ring. Tonight's first foe, Jia Tsai, was a crude brawler with just a couple of moves. The fights to follow would surely reignite the crowd's fervor. Jia Tsai lunged at Li Ge, but his attacks were swiftly parried. Li Ge landed a hook, sending Jia Tsai crashing to the floor. Stunned yet defiant, Jia Tsai sprang up and charged again. Li Ge quipped that it was his turn now. With a barrage of fists and kicks, he shattered Jia Tsai's guard, ultimately snapping his leg. A spectator yelled at the referee to examine Jia Tsai, doubting the fighter's injury. When the referee confirmed it, the crowd groaned, their bets lost. Li Ge urged the judge to declare the outcome. The judge announced Li Ge as the victor of the bout. Li Ge remarked to the referee that he thought fights had no breaks. He demanded to know who'd face him next. A stranger burst in a loud laughter, catching Li Ge's attention. He explained that ring fights only begin when bets are placed. If someone wagers on Li Ge's win or loss, he can fight in the arena. But, the stranger added, if no one bets on Li Ge, he'd have to exit the ring. He told Li Ge to glance at the other fighters. One look at him showed he'd crushed them. The stranger asked if Li Ge grasped his meaning and whether he was bold enough to face his chosen fighter. Win or lose, the stranger said, The 50,000 yuan was Li Ji's to keep. Li Ge mused that 50,000 yuan in 1980 was a fortune, but he'd only be here a month. Any earnings couldn't follow him. After weighing the offer, Li Ge agreed. The arena boss expressed delight that Brothers Wa was betting on their matches, allowing him to pick any fighter for an immediate bout. However, their rules barred their own fighters from competing. Zwa snapped at the portly boss, asking if he was brainless. Was he suggesting Zwa spend 50,000 yuan to watch these nobodies get pummeled? Did he look like a wealthy fool to be swindled? Zwa clarified he only wanted his fighter in the ring. He'd pay handsomely if an exception was granted. Zwa, seething, struck the fat man, ordering him to leave and stop pestering him. The fat man approached Li Ge, whispering that the man in the white suit was a notorious mafia figure, desperate for his fighter to win. Li Ge just needed to land a few flashy strikes, then take a fall, and 50,000 yuan would be his. Did he understand? Li Ge bristled at the proposal, but nodded. Glancing at his hand, he noted his fever hadn't subsided, yet his body felt stronger than before. It was exhilarating to feel so alive, he remarked. Zwa told Xiao he knew the guy couldn't stay idle, instructing him to enter the arena and tangle with this Bagwazang master. The judge announced that Xiao Zhou wasn't some novice with a few years of training. He'd been steeped in martial arts for over a decade. In every dojo, there's a tradition allowing anyone to challenge the master. In his youth, Xiao Zhou had challenged a Bagwazang master. He paid dearly, suffering 5 fractures and, worst of all, losing hearing in his right ear. For years, he'd burned to face a Bagwazang master again, seeking vengeance for that defeat. Who'd have guessed today would be his chance? Xiao stepped into the ring, declaring himself Shenshi Quanshu practitioner Zhou Weitao, and asked Li Ge to school him. Before Li Ge could respond, Xiao launched his assault, only for every strike to be deftly blocked by Li Ge. After executing a stunning strike, Xiao grinned, saying there was something thrilling about Li Ge that fired him up. Li Ge studied Xiao, recognizing him as a true master. He'd clearly underestimated this gritty city. Xiao called Li Ge reckless. Li Ge shot back that he hadn't expected a petty thug to be a Quanshu master. Li Ge clenched his fists, vowing to get serious now, and launched a fierce counterattack. But a shout from the stands halted them. Li Ge froze, instantly recognizing the voice. It was the Red Devil. Startled, told the Red Devil he'd given him a scare. Did he know the old man from their committee had fallen out with them? They weren't his lackeys, Zwa snapped. He was just here to enjoy some fights. The Red Devil retorted that the feud between Lianxing and Mr. Wu didn't concern those scraping by in the arena. Did Zwa understand his point? Zwa was exploiting the situation for his own gain, the Red Devil accused. If he wanted fights, he should place bets. Why flout arena rules? Zwa insisted Xiao had long sought a Bagwazang master challenge, and he had no intent to break rules. He only wanted his fighter to face the Red Devil's champion. If the Red Devil refused, Zwa declared, he'd take it as a personal affront. The Red Devil held firm, stating rules were non-negotiable. Had Zwa noticed his men's growing power was stirring chaos in the city? Xiao vaulted out of the arena, asking if he'd heard right. Could he fight Li Ge by entering the ring and following all the rules? The Red Devil confirmed, but Xiao would have to climb from the lowest ranks. Once the committee deemed him on par with Li Ge, and if someone placed a hefty bet, the fight could happen. Zwa scoffed. Was he the type of leader who didn't back his men? Forget the Red Devil. The final call was his. Zwa's crew turned and departed. Xiao thanked Li Ge for the sparring, noting that few in Kowloon Fortress City's arena practiced traditional martial arts, but he couldn't fully engage today. Xiao vowed to rise through the ranks quickly, promising they'd have a proper bout soon. Li Ge asked about his boss's promise. Would he still get the 50,000 yuan? Xiao, with a wry smile, said nothing and walked off. Li Ge slumped onto a bench as a menu flickered before his eyes, revealing he'd earned 5 system points and unlocked a gift granting access to extra purchases in this shard. Diving into the menu, he uncovered a wealth of intriguing abilities to boost his strength. Li Ge murmured that the fat man had been right. There was indeed something here to cure him. But time was short. To amass system points in this shard, he needed to rake in a fortune. When Li Ge came to a building, he thought, this is exactly where he lives. How kind his Red Devil agent is after all. The Red Devil told the guy that their town is famous in certain circles. Every year, a huge number of people who have committed crimes flock here. Some of them manage to become bodyguards, while the majority of them only have to fight in their arena, just like Li Ge. Red Devil said that nevertheless, the committee would never allow anyone here to start causing trouble, that if the committee said something, the public would just have to accept it. No one would be able to oppose it. Here, even God himself has less power than the committee. When people fight in one of their city's arenas, they eat out of Tai Sui's hands. And this Tai Sui is a member of the executive department of the committee. The whole fight business of their city is in his hands. The Red Devil said that he had heard about today's incident. Li Ge really had a hard day. He asked the guy if he had already contacted Ju, because he must have made inquiries about him. But the Red Devil changed the topic and offered Li Ge to fight under him. And no matter the money or the girls, he would definitely not deprive Li Ge of all of it. Li Ge said that people were talking about fighting in the 4th Division. How much money can he even get for fighting at such a high level? The Red Devil said that the 4th Division is still quite small, so he could get 5,000 yuan for winning it, and he will only get 1,000 yuan for losing it. The arena for Divisions 1 through 5 are open every day, so as long as someone bets on Li Ge, he will be able to earn money. In the 6th Division, there are not so many fighters. Fights there 3 or 4 times a week. For a victory, a fighter can get 30,000 yuan, and for a defeat, only 5,000 yuan. But there are some tricks. If Li Ge is ready to throw some money, he can fight in fights without rules, or in fights with the use of cold weapons. There are many options. In such fights, he can earn 100,000 a night. But in such fights, people die quite often. Li Ge realized that in just 1 month, he must somehow obtain 300 system points, and for that, he needed a huge amount of money. He wondered where he could get such money, maybe in the bank. When he saw a cute girl playing with a cat, he approached them. Li Ge told the girl that she had a very cute cat. He asked her to tell him where room 413 was. From the girl's eyes, she was very frightened by Li Ge's question, but she showed him nonetheless. When he came to the room, he thanked the girl, and as a token of gratitude, he decided to give the girl candy. But suddenly someone from the room asked Xiao who she was talking to so late. Xiao said she wasn't talking to anyone. She just went downstairs to find Amy. When he entered the room, the guy said that it looked like a mother and daughter lived in the next apartment. It's better than it could be. But are they living well in such conditions, he wondered? But it's not that important, Li Ge said. At least for now, he definitely doesn't want to create more problems for himself. While in the game room, a man asked the broker how much he would give him for this useful artifact. The game room guards took the man outside and asked him if he really thought someone would trade his box for real money. They asked him, does he have any idea who he's offering this shit to? If he ain't got no money, he ain't got no business here. The man said that he was not lying and that it was a worthwhile item and was considered an antique. The guards told him not to appear in front of them again, otherwise next time he would not survive the encounter. But suddenly someone attacked him from behind and hit him with a huge stone, taking this artifact. The man asked for help, but had no time to shout before he was killed. Li Ge kept on fighting and defeating his opponents. People were saying that this guy was incredible. He had won 5 fights in a row that night. I think people have said that he's made it clear to them all that the 4th Division is a cakewalk. Can it be that he's not inferior to a dozen fighters at that level? Li Ge saw the Red Devil calling him. The Red Devil said, if the guy continues like this, these brainless cretins will continue to lose their money, and with each fight, Li Ge makes him richer. The Red Devil offered the guy a little walk. After all, he is waiting for the last fight for today, but it will be held in a special arena. Li Ge asked, where is the special arena? Would he be able to make a lot of money there? The Red Devil said that he would find out everything in the Fuji building. After arriving at the Fui building, the Red Devil said, the people who come here are rich people. One night here costs 1,000,000 yuan. It is very difficult for fighters and ordinary people to get in. The Red Devil said that if the guy wanted to get a foothold here, he needed to find some rich patron who would support him. The Red Devil had already contacted one such person, and the guy just needed to not mess things up. When she entered the room, there was a beautiful madam who said that the Red Devil, a small scoundrel, and finally he appeared. He was not seen all night. Did he know that she would be in town and decided to deliberately avoid her? Asked the girl. Red Devil told Sister Rong D not to get angry, that he was absent because of the need to personally bring the newcomer here. Ligua smiled at Rong D's sister. The girl said that the guy looked good, but would help him fight. Rong said that she really liked having beautiful people around her, but the arena had different rules. Would she be able to keep her good name if the guy lasted a maximum of 1 or 2 rounds in the arena? She asked. Rome agreed and said that she wants the guy to fight in the arena with one person. He is a real maniac, and she will support the guy with all her strength. Liga said Sister Rome must be joking. The Red Devil is his boss, and he invited him here today to fight, but he didn't say anything about serial killers. It would be easier to jump into the sea than to enter the arena. Rome told the guy, if he really pulls it off, his sister will thank him well. Rome D is a rich person. She owns one of the radio stations in their city. Her husband was a justice of the peace before his death, and his fortune was over 10 billion. The Red Devil said that the guy should use all his strength to grasp the appetizing thighs. The guy has to show his unique style. Even if he loses today, it will help him gain a foothold in the 6th division. After all, he hasn't brought any newcomers here in a long time, so the guy shouldn't let him lose face. Li Gu said that he does have his own style, but there is no charm in it. But as long as the Red Devil allows him to earn money, he will fight like a tiger, defending his honor. When the guy got in the ring, he said 3 million was a pittance compared to 10 billion. The judge said that in the right corner is the serial killer Toyo, wanted in several countries. This guy is equally good with firearms in his body because he has incredible karate skills, but that's not all because he has learned hard and soft fist. Tonight he has now won 3 straight. His last opponent was the easiest one for him, as he quickly broke his arms and finished him off with punches to the kidneys. The referee thinks that everyone knows that his opponent didn't survive that fight. The judge had no sooner introduced Li Gu. He was tired of listening to these stories and decided to get down to business. Toyo grabbed the guy's arm and squeezed hard, giving Li Gu his power through force. But the guy was not confused and threw a kick with his leg in response. The Red Devil said that this Li Gu was really incredible. He had heard that Li Gu had spent many years in Guangdong, and it seemed to be for good reason that his understanding of martial arts was much deeper than similar fighters of his age. The guy said that the white crane stance, from which the hard and soft fist originates, is studied in Nanquan. Today, said guy will honor Toyo, and he will meet the patriarch, the founder of this martial art. The opponent was screaming in so much pain when he struck. In the end, the guy used all his strength to overpower him. After defeating his opponent, he's heard people say it's very cool, and they're willing to spend millions to see this guy fight again. When he went into Rongdi's room, he saw a gorgeous dressed girl who said that the guy's fight was great. Looking at his image in the mirror, the guy said that a tiger can't end up in the gutter in the eyes of others. 3 million, said the guy, an old novel and an old book. Maybe there's more to it now. It's all just in his hands. When he entered the fighter's room, he saw most of the people. He said that only the aura of a person who is hostile to people would emit a red light. And the higher the threat, the thicker the red aura. It seems to be his special ability as a world traveler. Seeing the guy, the Red Devil said that he had found him. Li Gu saw the fighter behind the Red Devil and realized that this person's red aura was the strongest among all these people. Li Gu said that this person is something like that guy in the arena. It's a little strange, but it can't be helped. The Red Devil asked the guy what surprised him so much, and told him to take the money. And as soon as he opens an account, the Red Devil will transfer his money for the fight. Rongdi gave him this money that the Red Devil said he needed to buy some clothes. She wants to see him at dinner tomorrow. He suggested that we have dinner together, because he's buying. Li Gu told the Red Devil, just now he saw blood, and now he is not feeling well. Can they have dinner together another time? The Red Devil said he had to make amends for making the guy see her, and told him to go, because no refusal would be accepted. When he got to the cafe, the guy thought the Red Devil would take him to some fancy nightclub. But is that it, he thought? While eating, The Red Devil said that this hogo had an incredible flavor and offered the guy a taste. While drinking alcohol, the Red Devil asked the guy what martial art he was trained in. After all, he noticed that the guy was very knowledgeable about martial arts. The guy wasn't shy and said that it looked like the Red Devil was researching Chinese martial arts. The Red Devil said he wouldn't even dare to mention it. Who in the whole town would dare to say that he had studied martial arts in Tai Sui's territory? And everything he knows, he learned from Tai Sui. Li Guo asked, is Tai Sui so good at Chinese martial arts? What does he practice, Hangar, Salafo? Red Devil said that they're talking about the honorary president of the Hong Kong Ushi Association. Countless dojos have lost their signs from his one-foot movement. They even named a TV channel after him. Besides, boy, is he asking questions, or is it Li Guo doing it after all? Li Guo said that he had mentioned it before. He had traveled around Guangdong in search of one thing, where he met a student and learned the white crane stance. It could be said that he did not belong to any school. Li Guo asked if the Red Devil had heard of that thing. The Red Devil said he didn't have it, but suddenly the angry man began to rage and shouted at the girl, asking what she was doing. The girl apologized and said that he did not do it on purpose. The man did not stop there and asked the girl, where is her respect for her elders? The girl lowered her head and apologized. The man couldn't help himself and hit the girl, asking how she could be so impertinent. The girl started crying and apologized. The man said he would kill her, but suddenly Li Guo intervened and stopped his punch. But the guy didn't want to talk to him and decided to charge him, scattering him all over the place. Li Guo told the man that his brain was boiling with anger, so he apologized for his sister's place. The man asked him why he was the only one apologizing. He invited his brothers to help him. Li Guo was not afraid and stood alone against the crowd. The man asked him, isn't it fun to be a hero now? He dared to fight with Xuanchang's men. The guy took a knife and said he really liked confronting heroes. Why wouldn't a guy stand his ground until the very end? The man told the guy to try to take the knife away from him, and if he succeeded, the fight would be over. The guy heard this maneuver and took the knife away, saying that this thing is not so bad. The Red Devil asked the underworld if they were that scary. Do they wish they were Europeans or dead people? He asked. After seeing the Red Devil, the men immediately quieted down and turned into nice people. The Red Devil told the newcomer Shunchong that he had never seen him before. After all, he often comes to this place, but sister is not easy to work here, and she's also sometimes so irritable. The Red Devil advised the man to apologize to the girl and pay all the damages in a hurry to get out of here. The man went up to his sister and apologized to her, calling him a redneck. And as a sign of reconciliation, he held out the money for the broken furniture. The Red Devil told the guy that he didn't expect that he liked girls like that. And oh wonder, he hardly reacted at all when the Red Devil introduced him to Dee. Li Guo said that this girl is her roommate. He gave him the keys to the apartment. Doesn't he already remember? The Red Devil said he was joking. He handed him his phone and told him to buy a decent suit and wait for his call. He had to show up at Dee's house, and if he played hide-and-seek with him, he'd throw the guy into the sea. Li Guo said to the Red Devil that he was so kind to him, rented an apartment for him, and now gave him a phone. He is certainly pleased, but let me be clear. The guy said he's not interested in men. The Red Devil heard that and started laughing out loud. Li Guo read the girl home, saying that she is coming home so late. Her mother must be very worried about her. The girl thanked the guy and wished him good night. When he entered the room, the guy started to have severe headaches, from which he passed out and fell to the floor. After taking the pills, he said that when he came out of the arena, he began to feel an unbearable headache. To dull the pain a little, he drank some more wine, but it only made it worse. When he took out a day's worth of money from his pocket, he said there was about 30,000 yuan in there. If we add the 50 he received earlier and the balance that the Red Devil has to transfer to his account tomorrow, he should have a total of 13 system points. First of all, as soon as the money arrives in his account, he should purchase a blood cell enhancer. If he suddenly gets sick in the arena, it won't be fun for anyone. Besides, right now he has no idea where to find the novel and the book. The next day, Li Guo went to the store and dressed up a little. That same night, he had a lovely dinner with Dee. Having been on a wonderful cruise on the sea with a beautiful girl, Dee, He took the bus home in the evening. As he made his way home, he said that he was more tired than he had expected, that he needed every second of rest he could get. His duties in the arena were not to be taken lightly, as everything could decide the outcome of a fight. But suddenly he bumped into a guy who probably wanted to rob him, and he grabbed his arm and broke it. Li Ge was very surprised and thought it was a punch from Chuanchu's arsenal. The guy apologized to Li Ge. Li Ge asked the guy where he was from. He said his hometown was Hejian, a small place in Hebei province. Li Ge said he was also from Hejian and still remembered urinating near the ruined pottery shop behind the temple. Li Ge immediately introduced himself and asked how to address the guy. He said his name was Ho, but everyone usually called him Don. Li Ge said it was hard to believe that he could meet a fellow countryman in such a place. He asked what Don was doing in Hong Kong. Don said that originally he and a few countrymen came to Hong Kong to get rich, but in the end, he abruptly stopped talking and asked Li Ge, what is he doing here? Li Ge told Dong that he wouldn't believe what he said anyway, so it's best to forget about it. Don asked what he couldn't believe. Could it be that Li Ge robbed a bank, and now the Hong Kong police are looking for him? But suddenly Li Ji's phone rang, and it was the Red Devil. The guy asked if he wanted to take him out for a drink. He had just finished dinner with D. The Red Devil asked the guy where he was. Li Ge said that he was outside the rental apartment. The Red Devil told him to stay where he was and not to move, and certainly not to go home. The Red Devil said that Li Ge had a gang of burglars in his house because the flying tigers had been dealt with. The Red Devil told him to be careful or he would be in trouble. Li Ge said to the Red Devil, the next time he calls him on the phone, let him speak as quietly as possible. The people around him can clearly hear his words, and don't worry, he's fine. The Red Devil said that he is saying serious things. This gang will kill without blinking an eye. They are really inhuman. The leader of their gang is called, and at this time, Li Ge dropped the phone. Li Ge told Dong not to pay attention. His friend likes to talk nonsense. He likes to swear, it's in his nature, and the guy dropped the call. It's not pleasant to hear. But suddenly a cat came up to them, and Li Ge bent down to pick it up. The girl apologized to Li Ge because the cat had once again run away. She did not distract them too much, the girl asked. Li Ge asked Shui, does she have any change on her person? Could she do a favor for her brother? Could she please run to the next block and buy some candy for him? Shui ran off to get some candy and told Li Ge that he would have to wait for her here for a while Dong tried to pull the gun out of his belt. An hour earlier, the man said that north of the road to Luanjin is Tai Sui's territory. He's only responsible for the security of their town. Therefore, the man said that in order to search for people in Tai Sui territory, it is better to send people separately. Red Devil said to Uncle Zheng, he thinks it is better to forget about this polite gesture. After all, they themselves do not have much strength to help the police search for people. The Red Devil said that Uncle Zheng himself could easily verify his words. As long as it didn't hurt them, turning things upside down, there would still be no problems. Uncle Zheng asked, why don't they ask what Tai Sui thinks about it first? He's in no hurry anyway. The Red Devil said that bothering Tai Sui with such insignificant things was like digging one's own grave. If one wanted to fight for power, one should do it alone. But suddenly Zheng's assistant came in and said that their people had found the guys. They decided to use the services of a familiar Chinese medicine clinic, and one of the doctors there called the police. And now the police are looking for them in their own city. Zheng said it seems there is no point in bothering Tai Sui. The Red Devil asked, where is the clinic located? The aide said, Temple Street 22 in the apartment building. Don pointed a gun at the guy's head. Li Ge said, if a person has lost the last vestiges of humanity, how should other people see it? Don told the guy to turn around. Li Ge turned around and said he wasn't going to kill him now anyway. There's no point, is there? Li Ge came out with a menu that the alarm mode has been activated. He can get all the information about this person. This action requires a write-off of 1 system point. Guy told him to write off. Menu told the guy that unfortunately, he was unable to learn information about his opponent's weakness. If in a state of alertness, he fixes the target of the skill, it will increase his chances of recognizing her weakness. Don told the guy he'd go with him, even if he didn't open his mouth on the way to say any more bullshit. Once inside the apartment, Don said that the guy's hands should be tied, but to be careful, the guy was probably practicing martial arts. The chief got angry and asked Don why he had brought another person here. Don apologized to Uncle One and said that he had another 40,000 yuan in his bag. He could take it with the 20,000 yuan he had already given him before. He's afraid they'll have to stay here a while longer. He's also forced to ask him to take care of his brother's injuries, pointing the gun at the doctor's head. When said to Don, "Why be so polite? They are good friends after all. He is always happy to help him if he is in trouble." Don said the doctor turned them in to the police, and they'll be here any minute. They have to get out of here now. Li Ge, watching all of this, realized that this Dong is a rather cruel and determined character. If they stay here, it will be very difficult to do something, but if they meet with the police that get out of the fortress city will obviously be difficult. After all, there are constant traffic jams, and the roads themselves are quite confusing. However, it will be even more difficult for him to get out of here with them. Don's acquaintance asked how they should deal with Xiao. Don went over to him and grabbed his hand and asked Xiao if he trusted him. Xiao said he trusted Don. Don said that Hong Kong only has the death penalty for pirates. If he stays here, the police will take him to the hospital to wait for him. If he is alive and sane, he will follow Xiao to the end of the world. The man for his team became indignant and said that Dong had promised that he would never abandon Xiao. Don got angry and told the man that he too had promised that he would obey him unconditionally. The guy asked that they should obey Don and abandon their men. Don suggested that he should say goodbye to his life. "Is this what he is doing to his brothers now?" the guy asked. They both got angry and pointed guns at each other. Don said that he was going to leave his brother Ho and leave the gang once and for all. Don told the guy to say those words. The guy told him to shoot him and take a share. The guy threw the money at him and asked him if he'd figured out how to spend it yet. Li Ge found a knife and tried to cut the ropes from his hands. Don told his guys, "Stop shaking the air." Li Ge jumped on one of Don's guys and pulled a knife on his neck. Li Ge told him to disperse. He'd pull the knife out, and the guy would die. Don didn't believe the guy's words and decided to try his luck. But Li Ge wasn't kidding and pulled the knife from the guy's throat. Li Ge cut the rope and decided to teach them a lesson himself. Don pointed his gun and waited for the right moment to shoot. Li Ge managed to throw a knife at him and knock the gun out of his hands, then attacked him with a leg attack. Don's men tried to kill him, but every bullet fired was all Mrs. Li Ge's head. But nevertheless, Ge managed to knock him out as he didn't expect the wounded guy to grab his leg, and shouted to Brother Dong to run. But Li Ge was ruthless and stabbed the knife into his head. But the only thing left to do was to kill that fucking man Dong. So I attacked him, knife in hand. Li Ge was notified that the alarm mode lasted for 9 minutes and 43 seconds, and he failed to recognize the weakness of the target. By now, 5 system points had been spent, and the target's fixation was stopped and dead. Alert said he managed to get 2 fragments of the ancient tale, and he completed part of the main mission in this shard. Seeing this, Li Ge thought it was ironic. It seems that those who wanted to get a good fight were sure to get one. The policeman recording his testimony said that this gang of robbers was able to steal quite a lot of antiques from a bank. It is expected that initially this novel, consisting of 5 fragments, will be sold at a charity auction. But now he owns a couple of pieces. I wonder if he can auction them off in his own name. When he came out of the police gate, the Red Devil met him and asked him how he was doing. Didn't the police give him a hard time? Li Ge apologized for disturbing the Red Devil. The Red Devil said that it was Tai Sui who helped him, otherwise how could he get out of there so quickly? But there was a beautiful girl D waiting for him, who bailed him out, so he would have to thank her well, said the Red Devil. Li Ge said that he had just gotten into such a big adventure. Can he now keep such a girl company? The Red Devil told the guy that this girl has a fortune in the tens of billions. She has beautiful long legs, huge breasts, and an incredible, beautiful face. But all Li Ge continues to resist. Maybe he wants to be paid for it? Red Devil asked why he looked like he was going to an execution instead of a date. Dee told the guy she still wanted to go shopping. The guy said the suit was part of the money that could have gone to the blood cell booster. He's so sad, his heart's about to burst. Li Ge said that of course he can understand when someone pays to see some fighter in the arena, even when the amount of money for their appearance there is fabulous. But he does not understand how a woman can invite to dinner a man who recently killed 4 people, right before she bought him an expensive suit. Li Ge said that he was a very unusual person and he was very curious. How much did she know about him? Dee said that she first learned about him when they were introduced to each other by the Red Devil, and then she decided to sponsor this excellent master at any cost. She asked what the guy thought when he saw her. Li Ge said that he thought that this girl's capital was at least 10 billion dot, and now he has nowhere to go anyway. He should definitely kidnap this girl. That way he will definitely have his own meatloaf for the rest of his life. Dee said, even though the guy knew about her ego, she really likes honest people. If he really kidnapped her, would it really be that easy to ransom her? Li Ge said he didn't know, and suggested that she come back to that question when the time was right. Dee said the guy asked how much she knew about him. Some people feel fear and even disgust in the face of blood and violence. But there will always be people who are fascinated by broken fists, sweat, blood, and even murder, and she belongs to the latter. The guy said that there are actually a lot of places in their town where you can see something like this. Dee said it all looks awful out there. Dee told him to lean in close to her. And that day, when she first saw him fight, she felt incredibly excited. Li Ge said that this woman was really quite unusual. She had just a few words to make a mature man blush. That same beautiful evening, Li Ge was returning home. He suddenly felt a sharp pain in his back. He was told that a fragment of an ancient tale had been discovered nearby, and let Li Ge pay attention to the system messages. When he saw the huge system message in front of him, he was very surprised and confused. Seeing the map, he immediately started to complete the task, but suddenly he stopped and the notification was already closed. Arriving at the place, the guy said that again without results. At least he now knows for sure that in this city he can find at least 2 more fragments. But suddenly, a man told Li Ge that he had better get out of here quickly. Seeing Li Ji's face, the man was very surprised. Li Ge said that he was Xiao Zhou, and he was very happy to see him. Zhou entered the room and asked what kind of wind had brought him here. Li Ge said that some petty thief stole his wallet. He followed him here and didn't expect to meet them here. Zhou said that he is now a household name in the city, but doesn't anyone know where his older brother's territory is? Could it be that Li Ge now thinks he is the king of their city and has come here on purpose to cause trouble? Li Ge told brother Zhou not to joke around like this. How could he call himself the king of Kowloon Fortress City? He doesn't have a few extra lives to spare. Zhou said, okay, in a few days they can finally meet in the arena. Recently, Xiao also began to perform there regularly. Now he has 4 wins in a row. His Chinese martial arts make those Vietnamese jump around the arena just like this. Li Ge told Zhou that this little guy had just arrived in the city, and he didn't know much yet, but if there were any big pawn shops in Kowloon Fortress City, he had brought a family heirloom with him from the mainland, and now he would like to see if he could sell it. Zhou said there's a good place across the street. It's his pawn shop. The prices are very fair, and they accept any kind of goods. In their town, this business is not so developed. If someone has valuable things, they will not pawn them here. And if you want to leave your valuables there and get a decent price for them, it's better to do it outside the city. Li Ge asked Zhou, could he still get the 50,000 yuan he was promised? Sui realized that this guy was definitely short of money, and he couldn't even blame him for it. Coming home, Li Ge took out his artifacts, in which one was the Guho bird, and on the second was the widow Zhou Rao. Li Ge said that even the fat man suggests that the spirits and evil spirits in ancient Chinese novels may be lies. And now, said the lad, he too is like this wind that brought him to this city. The skill, however, a quick glance turned out to be truly amazing. The fat man had introduced himself as Wang Yang then, but who was he really, Li Ge thought, a human being or just a puppet? But suddenly, he said that the notification popped up again. If he goes to the target on purpose, it will get away from him, but if he ignores it, then the target is either gradually approaching or in place. This means that the one who has this fragment knows of its existence, Li Ge thought, which means that he is not the only one who came here. The one who managed to obtain the second fragment is very careful. It will be very hard to deal with this opponent. Finally, the guy decided to buy a hematopoietic cell enhancer. And for that, he spent 10 system points to purchase this device. When Li Ge got up from the couch in the morning, he felt an incredible feeling as if he was completely cured. After using several attacks and techniques, He realized that his strength was much stronger than before. But suddenly his phone rang, and it was Rong Di. He thought he had slept all day and all night. The Red Devil came to the man who gave him the letter to read that Tai Sui had indeed invited him to a private meeting. The Red Devil asked, did he have any special background? Ching, the best economist of the arena, said that he was an ordinary fighter who had recently appeared in their city, yet he had never suffered a single defeat. Qin Quan also said that he had only recently appeared in the city, and it was normal that he didn't have any defeats yet. The Red Devil said that even if the guy constantly wins without knowing the taste of defeat, Tai Sui still has no reason to meet him in person. Qing said that Li Ge had managed to win 10 victories in a row without a single defeat, but Tai Sui was still indifferent to him. Qing said that the Red Devil is wrong. Tai Sui does not want to see Li Ge because of his achievements. The only reason to meet him in person is because of his grandfather Su Shangtian's personality. Su Shangtian is a disciple of Man, one of the 4 guardian gods of Wing Chun, who once managed to set a record of 32 victories in the arena of Kowloon Fortress City, after which there was not a single person in the entire city who dared to challenge him. That same beautiful evening, Li Ge came to watch the fight. The guy said that in the current situation, Zhou had a clear advantage. But suddenly someone came up to him and asked Li Ge if he minded if she sat next to him. Looking at her, Li Ge smiled. She was a tall girl with a beautiful figure. The girl took out a jar, and Li Ge saw it and asked, "Is this Hanshin?" There aren't many girls in the world who like to drink Hanshin. The girl said that it was Shaochuan, and that it was her little weakness that she couldn't get rid of. Did Li Ge notice that this guy uses Quan Shu to fight with his hands, but his foot technique is from a different school. If I'm not mistaken, it should be the Mantis style. He can easily mix Quan Shu techniques and Mantis style in his fighting style. Such a thing is only possible if he has mastered both of them perfectly. The girl said that it looks like this kid is a real genius. But the Red Devil has his own trump card, and this guy is even more ruthless because he is a real Bagwazang practitioner. But sooner or later, they will still be able to see his real strength, because sooner or later these two will have to face each other in the arena, after a fight in which only one winner will be determined. Li Ge asked the girl, does she like fighting in the arena so much? She seems to be studying martial arts, doesn't she? The girl asked him if he was asking her. The guy said, aren't they having a casual conversation? The girl told him to relax, because she's just kidding. In fact, she's happy to have such a handsome man sitting next to her. The girl said that when she was a teenager, she was a disciple of Zhang Chun, a very famous Bagwazang master, so she is considered a follower of Bagwazang. Li Ge told the girl that she had just mentioned a Bagwazang master, so why was she so pessimistic about him? The girl said that unfortunately today that master was not fighting in the arena. If the guy asked her to point him out in the crowd, she wouldn't be able to do so. She didn't pay attention to his appearance. And if Li Ge wants to bet on this man, he should be careful because he's probably seriously ill. Li Ge asked the girl what her name was. She said her surname was Yu and her name was Yushu, but to people who love martial arts, she is usually known as Tai Sui. Seeing the look on the guy's face, she said that it was right. She was the Tai Sui he was thinking of. The guy sighed and said that it was quite unexpected. Li Ge said, who would have thought that Tai Sui is a girl? Sui said that even if it's such unexpected news for him, he should still introduce himself, right? But at this point, a girl came up from behind and said that the guy's name was Li Ge. Deng said, how could it be that Tai Sui from Kowloon Fortress City doesn't even know his own fighters? Dan asked how she got here. Better yet, tell me this, he doesn't know his boss's boss. The Red Devil didn't introduce them to each other? Sui said that people here call her Tai Sui, so she can call her that too. It turned out that this guy is the new Red Devil man. For some reason, she thought he was an ordinary guy and came to this city to have fun. Li Ge said that he was very pleased to meet her, and he had already heard many favorable comments about her. Sui said she hadn't seen her in a long time. Dan said she hadn't seen her in a long time either. She was still as beautiful as ever, but apparently no one had ever taught her how to dress. Sui said that it is true Dan remembered her, that Miss has a makeup that suits her. Be sure to let her bring it next time. Dan said sure, and remembered that she still had a meeting with Jan, so they'd be leaving. After leaving the fight room, Dan called Tai Sui and said that she must have called her that on purpose. but suddenly she noticed Li Ge laughing and asked him what was wrong. Li Ge said that he had known her for a while, and this was the first time he had seen her angry. Dee said today was the first time a guy saw his boss's boss. And how is she his type, she asked. Li Ge said that this is his boss. Of course she is pretty, but she can't be compared to Rong Di. Dee thought that the Red Devil was not a bad option, but Tai Sui could also be a good replacement for him. It could even help Li Ge to rise even higher. Dee said the guy knew that a lot of new blood had arrived in the fortress city recently, and they were all pretty good. Li Ge said that, for example, this guy with a smoking pipe. This Lan Mian is a unique weapon that is used in Fan Zi Quan. Although in form it is the same as a smoking pipe, a real killing weapon. Li Ge said that since Rong Di's sister is paying attention to this guy, she must want to support him. Dee said she doesn't need him when she has Li Ge. The one who supports him is He Chang-hoon, and he's a real jerk. No matter how much money the guy loses here, losing to him is the most unfortunate thing ever. The guy in the arena is called Wu Er. He's a newcomer, and he's been doing well lately. Dee asked the guy to be honest. Can he defeat him if they face each other in the arena? Li Ge said that Dee is insulting him because he is 120% sure that he can easily defeat him. Dee said that she's talking about serious things. It looks like he will have another fight. Be sure to let Li Ge watch it. And she also has videos of his previous fights. He can watch them too. Li Ge abruptly pressed himself against her from behind and said that he was 120% confident of winning, which meant that there was a 120% chance of him winning. But Dee realized that it was time to kiss him, but as Li Ge suddenly pulled away, Dee said he was a jerk. He was teasing her again. Couldn't he be a little more gentle with her? But suddenly, the guy was notified of the location of a fragment of an ancient tale and let the guy bring it to his attention. When he looked in the battle window, he saw that guy and realized he was the fragment. The menu told him to be very careful. The blonde man started laughing loudly and said to Uncle Lei that it looks like his boyfriend is very good, and today he will lose a huge amount of money. Lei said the newcomers in the arena these days are really striking. Tony is one of the best old fighters in the 6th division. For them, Lei said, it was a real surprise that this little wooer wouldn't let him last 20 rounds in the arena. The blonde man seems to have a keen eye for talent. He told the subordinate to give Wu Er the 200,000 and tell him that he wanted to have dinner with him tonight. Lei said that this Wu Er is really incredible. Perhaps he will make a huge amount of money with his help. Even if he wants to make money from his fights, no one wants to bet against him. But suddenly a pretty girl in a skirt walked in. He said she was Mei. What is she doing here? Mei told Mr. He that Wu decided to come in person to thank him for the money he handed over. Wu took off his mask, and He told him to turn around because he had fought very well today. He asked him what was the matter. Wu said that he had heard that there was a rather famous person in their city called Rong Di, and she didn't seem to like to mess with Mr. He very much. I was told by Li Ge that he was able to find a second person who was sent to the shard of the shifting world. The assignment told him to have Li Ge secure a foothold in the 7th division of the Kowloon Fortress City Arena. The guy said that the main task he needs to accomplish to successfully close this shard of the treacherous world is to awaken the bird that sleeps within the ancient tale, but there is no limit on the number of people for this task. Having a person here who is also sent to this shard of the changed world could answer many of his questions. In principle, he and Wu could work together to successfully complete this assignment. However, the note for this shard said that the more fragments he could collect, the higher the reward he would receive at the end of the event. But the most remarkable thing here is that there are only 5 fragments. He wondered who would get the most fragments and whether it was even possible to divide the reward. But then the door opened, and the guy told him he'd been waiting for him. He's not much for threats, but today he'll make an exception. Li Ge said that each of them got here for their own reasons, so he won't ask about his, and let him not ask about his reasons. Li Ge told the guy to give him the 2 fragments. Anyway, while he is looking for the last one, Wu should earn more system points, and once he finds the last one, they will meet and complete the task. Wu said that he had just talked to He and told him that he wanted to fight Li Ge. He has a disagreement with the girl supporting him, so he immediately agreed. Wu said that unlike Li Ge, he's a more straightforward person. He doesn't want to cooperate with anyone because he only has to trust himself. Wu said that they will just decide everything in the arena, The loser will lose everything and the winner will gain everything. Wu asked Li Gu, did he agree or not? Li said that in such an environment that had arisen in Kowloon Fortress City, the disagreement between them made the situation even more confusing. The system will help Wu to learn martial arts, but he is still young, which means he has very little experience. But realizing this, he still decided to fight in the arena. Li asked Wu, apparently he is not afraid of him? Then the time will come, and they will see each other in the arena tomorrow. As he left, the guy realized that Wu was definitely not Zhang Mingyuan teasing him with his story fragment. Going into the fight room, He came out and told everyone to look at this guy. He's going to hell tomorrow. Dee asked Li what weapons he would need for tomorrow's battle. The Red Devil would prepare them for him. Li realized that this guy who had just left the room must be Zhang Mingyuan's patron. It seems that they have agreed that they will use weapons to fight tomorrow. Zhang Mingyuan will use Lantian, and Baguazhang will use many strange weapons. Li told the Red Devil to help him. To prepare a meter blade for tomorrow's fight, it would be better to have a meter-and-a-half blade. The Red Devil said he understood there would be no problem. The Red Devil told the guy he remembered asking him to check something. Did he do it? Li told the Red Devil that he didn't need to worry so much about his health. After all, it was his body, and he knew what was happening to it. The Red Devil said that when Tai Sui was watching his fight, she specifically noted that he was either weakened because of something or he was tormented by some serious illness. The Red Devil told the guy if he didn't want to tell him about it, so be it, but he should realize that he had only been in their town for 9 days. The devil doesn't want him to lose his ability to fight so soon. If he's finding it more and more difficult to fight, the devil can talk to Rong Di. She won't mind if he takes a break for a while. Li Gu told the Red Devil that he knows that the Red Devil is not the kind of person who will feed a useless freeloader for free. Red Devil said that Tai Sui also shares his opinion that he is talking to him about serious things. Tai Sui said that if the guy continues to fight so often, his body will not be able to bear it. Li Gu asked the Red Devil, Tai Sui will watch their fight tomorrow. The Red Devil said, maybe yes and maybe no. It all depends on her schedule. Li Gu had a beer and told him that he should definitely ask her to watch the fight. Li Gu knew that he would probably never get used to the smell of fish and rotten eggs. He even had the feeling that the smell had become even more disgusting in these 2 days. When he got home, he got a knock on the door, opened the door, and asked why she had come at such a late hour. Sue said her mom said he lives alone, so they decided to make this bento for him to thank him for his invaluable help. Li said that every time he starts to feel hungry, she brings him her mom's cooking. It has been like this several times. He is sure to express his sincere admiration for her cooking ability. Li told the girl that he had noticed that they had recently stopped turning on the lights in their apartment at night and were using candles instead. Is there a problem with the electricity? Shu said that yes, there had been some malfunctions for quite some time. Li said that he would go to their house and try to do something about it, especially since he hadn't had a chance to meet her mom yet. Shui told the boy it was nothing and thanked him for his kindness and told Li to take his time when he ate. Eating the delicious food, the guy said that these days he spent in Kowloon had lost his perspective on life. On June 24th, 1986, it's best to avoid burial grounds and pray frantically all day, because it's time to fight. Li Gu said it was a great sword. Dee asked the Red Devil where he got the sword from, and can they rely on it? Red Devil said that he was given this sword by Tai Sui from his personal collection. He had already sought blood, so there shouldn't be any problem. Sui said that the Hanjian sword that requires a huge amount of physical strength from its wielder, but Li wouldn't have the strength to hold on to it. But he doesn't look like an idiot going to his doom. Did she really miss something in his past fights? After analyzing his opponent, Li said that this chicken had brought his martial arts performance to 81%, and their current gap with him was 12%. Wu said that nothing in this world is absolute, so he will never lose to him. And they started the battle without shaking hands. Li didn't expect such power from such a small and inexperienced opponent, but Wu didn't stop and kept launching his attacks. When Wu attacked, he didn't expect Li to leave him unarmed, so Li struck with his sword while holding 2 weapons. Li looked at the guy with such hatred, but deep down he felt sorry for him that Wu was wounded and bleeding holding his arm. While He was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, seeing his fighter lose, Di watched it and laughed. Li didn't wait and decided to attack Wu and end this once and for all. But after making the attack, Wu managed to turn away from his blow. But in the end, he didn't run for long, and Li was able to catch him with a sword thrust into his hand. Li told him that Wu was seeking his death by these actions. With each attack, Wu tried to avoid being hit by the sword, and only had to dodge because he was unarmed. But Wu did not give up hope and waited for the right moment to launch his attack, and he managed to kick Li. Manhwa told Li that he had come face to face with the power of an enlightened beast, and because of that, he was able to gain more information. Li told the Manhwa to write off the points, and at the time, he kept fighting Wu, but the guy kept getting away from his attacks. In the end, he left Li unarmed, and now the battle was not for life but for death. After all, Wu may have discovered new abilities for himself when he saw his eyes red. Wu's strength had increased, but Li was not letting him relax and trying to take him to another level of battle. Wu managed to pull out his sword and immediately started attacking. Li put his hand up, not knowing what to do at such a moment. Li said that no matter how incredible this legacy of the enlightened beast was, he just needed to strike it first. With his footing, Li was able to get close to Wu, and it was only a matter of time before he struck first. Li managed to drop Wu to the ground and decided to finish this attack with a leg kick. While Wu was very surprised by this rule. Taking the sword away from Wu, he only had to kill him, but he couldn't do that and stabbed the sword into the arena. Li asked him if he knew who Zhang Daojing was. O said that it was her sister. When Li heard that, he just dropped the sword and picked up the guy. Li told Wu that if he refuses to become his ward for a month, he will have something worse than death waiting for him. Wu said to curb his rage, he must kill Li. Li couldn't listen to this and picked him up and threw him out of the ring. Wu asked him why he didn't finish what he started and stop his blade. Li thought long and hard about the answer and told Wu to go home and ask her sister about it. She would tell him everything. Miss D told the Red Devil to leave the room and to remember to close the door behind him. There was only despair in D's eyes. Walking into the shower room, Li was very sick and his body was covered in abrasions that made him very sore. But suddenly a guy came in and said that when Li lost his sword, he was sure Li would lose. Li told him, does he have free time to watch him fight? Better let the guy say who he should fight next time. The guy said that recently there are 4 popular fighters in the arena. The first is of course Li. The second is Wu, who he just beat. One of the remaining fighters, Li, can easily name. Li said that he cannot even imagine who it is. The guy told Li that he himself should take care of himself. By the time of their battle, the guy could even learn to wield the blade well. Li thought that this kid has a really sensual temperament. Although he seems cold on the outside, he is hot on the inside. In his early years of martial arts, he followed his master and constantly fought with the masters of different dojos. This gave him a lot of experience, which helped him to develop his own fighting style in the future. Tai Sui said that he was a genius, and that alone was enough to praise him highly. There are very few masters like Xiao Zhou nowadays. Li told Xiao to let him expand his horizons as the time comes. There's going to be another fight soon. Sui said that there was nothing masculine about Gong Sun Yang and Zhang. Li didn't understand anything from this guy's words. Li thought, if a person can't compromise, can he call himself an intellectual? He really believed that he had sold himself into Rong Di's indefinite slavery. But the words of that boy, said Li, reminded him otherwise. It seems to be another trait of his personality. People were asking each other who they'd be rooting for. The one fighting with the brass knuckles did pretty well last time. His opponent today must be a student. Look at his dazzling smile. It's like he's not going to take part in a battle. He's on stage for a play. It was said that this guy, his name is Xiao. He has never lost a single fight yet, and today's opponent will definitely not interrupt his winning streak. Sudo walked over to Xiao and told him to listen to him carefully, and not to blame him later for not telling him. This time he had an unusual opponent. In all of his 10 fights, his opponents either died or were left disabled. If Xiao has any special skills, the judge advises him to use them without showing any mercy. Xiao said that he had never looked down on his rivals, but there was no reason for him to kill them for no reason. Entering the arena, the opponent said that he should make something clear to Xiao beforehand. When he is in the arena, he is always on the verge of life and death. The guys looked at each other for a long time, and the guy decided to introduce himself that his name was Wing Chun. Lee decided to check on Wu, and when he came into the room, he said that the guy was really a tough guy. After losing so much blood, he still looks chipper. One of the wounds seems to have grazed his spine. That must have hurt a lot, right? Lee told the doctor he had something to discuss with this guy, and could the nurse keep them for a while? Lee told Wu that he wanted his fragment. Wu said how straightforward Lee was, that he broke his left arm. On his right arm, he put a huge 40-centimeter wound. But this is not enough for him, and he continues to ruthlessly demand more. Why be so cruel and take away his fragment, asked Wu. Lee went into his pocket and asked where the fragment was. Wu told him to look below, but Lee said there was nothing there. Wu told him just let his hand go even lower. Taking out the fragment, Lee asked him, where did he find it? Wu said he was lucky enough to buy the first piece for 2,000 yuan. One guy was very addicted to drugs, so to get another dose, he caught a man in an alley and killed him. He took the fragment from a murdered man and left it in a pawn shop. Only the ghost of the man killed in that alley knows more, if Lee wants to ask him about it. Wu said that this fragment is very expensive. If he told Lee that it was stolen from Liasheg's main headquarters, would he believe him? Would he dare to take this fragment, knowing where he got it from? But the fight between Xiao and Wing was still going on, and every minute the battle was getting more and more heated. There was no mercy or pity in this battle. Wing managed to embarrass Xiao by approaching his head with his sword, but Xiao managed to turn away from this attack. People's excitement kept rising, and they couldn't believe how the fighter was performing 21 consecutive attacks. Wing managed to bloody his sword by grazing Zhao's face. This more passion gave him the victory and ended Zhao's life. But Xiao didn't think about defeat. He only wanted to win. He decided to attack first with his attack. Wing waited for the right moment and slashed Zhao's arm with his sword, then slashed his belly. Wu asked Lee, didn't he manage to get 2 fragments? Where did he even manage to get them? Lee said that the 2 fragments were stolen from a safe deposit box by a group of thieves. The fragments became his trophy after eliminating the gang. Wu was surprised that Lee was able to single-handedly take down the entire gang that had robbed the bank. Even with the legacy of an enlightened beast, the guy wouldn't have had a chance to deal with a few thugs who were also armed. Wu realized that this is his first shard of the changed world, right? That means he's almost no different from ordinary people. Lee asked the guy if this was his first time participating in the closing of the shard of the world-changing world. Wu said it was his second. Lee asked, did he come here at the fat man's invitation? Wu said he came here at the invitation of a very beautiful woman. He'll never forget it. Hearing this, Lee thought, what kind of rewards would await him after successfully completing this shard of the world-changing world? Wu said that after completing his first shard of the volatile world, he had his legacy in 100% affinity with it. His legacy turned out to be that of an enlightened beast. It's hard to describe the feeling he got when he received it. It's an unbelievable power. Lee said that enough of this idle chatter. Let Wu say why he had to show off and challenge him to a fight. Wu will lie here now. He hopes that it will be good for him. Wu said that if it wasn't for that stupid desire to grab his blade, there's no telling who would have won this fight. Lee said that Wu is bedridden after the last fight, but still keeps getting into trouble. Lee asked the guy, didn't he think it was stupid? What came after? Was there anything else? Wu said that after the world-changing shard was successfully completed, all his actions would be counted. After counting will be given a score. On the basis of this score, he will receive system points and additional rights to buy, and the higher the score, the higher the quality of the thing that he can get. Lee asked, were these purchase rights? Wu said that his last sliver of the changing world took place in the west of Hunan province in the 13th year of the Chinese Republic. In a village near Mount Phoenix began a real zombie apocalypse. The result was that the local military decided to simply level the village with the help of artillery. Toward the very end of the events, said Wu, he even had the opportunity to obtain the exorcism of the dead technique thanks to the purchase authorization. And a little later, he managed to get the ability to create purple and bloody, supreme zombies. But he didn't have enough system points for anything, not even the most basic white zombie. Wu said that he is still silent about purple and blood, which, in my opinion, is impossible to buy. And it is not a question of a lack of system points. To buy them, he lacked either the rights to buy, or the quality of these rights was insufficient. Li asked, and what is the most effective way to get more purchasing rights? Or should I say, increase the quality of the items he can purchase? Wu said, if he really wants to know the answer, it's murder. Hearing this, Li was very surprised. Wu said that in about an hour or two, the power of his enlightened beast would dissipate and Li's right arm would be back to normal. Li realized that he still had a hard battle ahead of him in this city. If he had to give up his right arm, it would cause a huge inconvenience, so this was very good news. Li asked Wu the last question. He was the one who played cat and mouse with him on consecutive days, right? Wu said he doesn't know what Li is talking about. The person he's talking about is definitely not him. Wu asked Li what the hell is his relationship with her sister. Lu said he's her old lover. Li said that this guy was really not bad in combat, a few blade strikes, a few good kicks, and a couple of hard fist punches. Only after that did he lose his combat effectiveness. Most likely this terrifying resilience he had gotten because of his heritage. Heading home, his phone suddenly rang, and it was the Red Devil. Li asked him what was wrong. The Red Devil told him to leave the arena through the back door. He has to get one guy out of here. If anyone dares to block his way, he can beat them to death in the same place. The stranger stood in front of Tai Sui and said, if this guy doesn't die today, no one will be able to get out of here anymore. Sui told the stranger that he is awesome. He is surrounded by 100 of his men, but he came here today to watch the fights in the arena, not to make a war between two gangs. He has once again decided to make a mess of this place, Sui said. But has he thought about what will happen to his people? But then Li came in and asked the Red Devil what the hell was going on. Why are you making such a fuss again? The Red Devil said that Xiao had lost. Part of his right hand was cut off during the fight, after which he received several wounds to his abdomen. His intestines were scattered all over the arena. Brother Gio's men immediately picked him up in pieces and immediately took him to the hospital. Now he and his gang are demanding an explanation. I told Tai Sui to try to talk to him, but the Red Devil told him to take his time. The Red Devil told him to follow him. Tai Sui asked him to take the guy somewhere. Who was she talking about? Li asked. The Red Devil said that Li should get this guy into town, and he should be safe and sound. Even if he dies, he shouldn't lose his life under their noses. Li asked the boy if he could walk by himself. The guy lowered his head and said yes. The guy said his name was Su Tanzi. Shui asked the guy if he defeated him in the arena, would no one else want to fight him? Su said that he had been practicing martial arts for over 10 years and had just recently arrived in this city. But he was so bored, no one had ever come close to winning a single fight against him. Su said that this Xiao was the closest. He is quite good. His blade made his heart flutter, but he was still faster. Li told the guy that he said he has been practicing martial arts since a dozen years. But does he believe they are strong in today's world? Su said, of course not. They've been outdated for a long time. And Li couldn't help himself and kicked at Su's body. Li said he felt the same way and told him to get up because they had to go. He doesn't want Ju Brothers' men to make him a piece of meat that can't do anything. Su wiped the blood from his face and said that he would definitely pay Li for the kick. Li smiled and said that he would wait. But then she got a call from Dee. Li asked her if she had an emergency. Dee asked where he'd gone, the damn bum. Li said he was in the middle of something. Li said he was going to buy a car. Maybe she could give him some advice. Besides, Sister D is so generous and generous. Maybe she'll lend him some money. Even if a person has neither a family nor a stable job, he will always need money. Li said he didn't have the guts for it. People standing around said the guy was a total Alfonso, but suddenly one of the guys told them to wait a minute. Li wouldn't talk to them and launched an attack. Li asked what the strange noises were. This is the job he was talking about, and unfortunately it's not without constant noises. But more people were coming, and they asked Li what was going on. Li said, what sharp ears those bastards have. Li threw the phone away and said he wasn't talking to Sister D. He started fighting these people. Li didn't have the tiniest bit of fear in his eyes from these people. He was taking them all apart, trampling each one into the ground. Dee asked the guy what the hell was going on in there, and why was it so loud in there. Was Lee even listening to what she was saying to him? Lee grabbed the phone from Sue's hands and told her that he was listening to her carefully. Lee said that he should be finished here soon, and after he had sorted everything out, he would call her back right away. Lee was very angry and told Sue not to slow down. The people on the street started to resent that they had been waiting for a long time and no one was showing up. People asked him if they're sure they're waiting in that place. The head told him to shut his mouth. They're already here. The head told Ty that he had asked him to send someone to get a firearm just in case. So where were the guns? Ty told Brother Turg that it takes time to get a firearm, and to get it faster, you need money. Should they even use firearms against them? Although he must be seriously injured, he had seen with his own eyes how Xiao Zhou had wounded him with a blade right in his stomach. The wound he had received was definitely very serious. There's a dozen of them, and they're armed with edged weapons. No reason to be afraid of this kid. Lee was very angry and turned into a horrible monster. Tiger said they never got the gun. Tai said no. Lee told the guy that he could get into the cab himself, but he had to be careful. The guys wouldn't leave him alone. Shui said that before entering the arena, they had signed a contract stating that they had no claims no matter what the outcome of the fight was. Lee said that it's a pity, but in this world almost everything is meaningless. So his brother wants to kill him not because of his victory, but simply because of his human feelings, and the last thing he will think about is whether it's meaningless or not. Sue said that in 15 days, his wounds will be gone, and he'll be able to punish them all. 3 days later, the Red Devil met Lee and said he had new clothes, looking great. Did he just finish a date with Rongdi? Lee asked if Tai Sui was looking for him, and has Brother Ju been taken care of? The Red Devil said, is there any problem Tai Sui can't handle? The Red Devil said 3 days of trouble, and his men shook their tails and fled. When they came to the hall, he asked if Tai Sui was looking for him. The girl said that except for Xiao, no one could beat him in the arena at the moment. This kid named Sui will fight Lee no matter what. The winner will lead the 6th division. Sui said that she really wants Lee to lead the 6th division. Lee said that Tai Sui must be joking. Is he qualified to be the leader of an entire division? In addition, by entering the arena, he risks every time. The sword has no eyes. It will be enough for him to find a wife and with retirement to return to his village, where he will spend the rest of his days. The Red Devil said that Kowloon Fortress City is a good place to settle down. He himself was involved in underground fighting for several years, then retired and now works for Tai Sui, earning a living. Tai Sui asked Lee directly if he didn't want to work with her. Lee said why would she come to that conclusion? Tai said in that case he could go. He would call him when he needed him. Right now, she needed a practice. Lee asked the Red Devil if he knew which hospital Xiao was in. He sighed and told him where he was. Ju told Xiao that after this guy defeated him, he decided to make a mess to get justice for him. Sayu believes that he acted unacceptably, so even though he was not prepared for it, he stood his ground. Ju saw Lee and asked how he had the courage to come here. Lee said that he was not responsible for his boss's actions, and Xiao was injured not by him, but by Sue. Lee said that on the night of the incident, he was not in the arena at all. At that time, he was playing Patinko. Whatever he thinks, Brother Ju, this incident has nothing to do with him. Lee said that Tai is Tai. How can Tai not realize that he is him? An ordinary fighter who enters the arena to earn a piece of bread and always puts his life on the line. Lee said he was practicing martial arts and wanted to discuss something in private. If he didn't mind, he could leave them alone. Lee asked Xiao how his injuries were and whether the operation was successful. Xiao said that thanks to timely medical care, the arm was sewn back on. But in the future, during cloudy days, the injury will make itself felt, and recovery will take at least 6 months. Lee thought about Zhao's words because he himself once broke his arm, so he knows that Xiao will lose most of his strength, and practicing martial arts in the future is almost useless. Lee told him to take it easy, because soon the man who did this to him will get what he deserves. Xiao asked Lee, did he come here just to tell him these words? Lee said he was here for Xiao to hear these words. Lee said he had already made up his mind and wasn't going to back down. That's just the way he is. Xiao told him to take care of himself. Lee said that he should go now, and the guy needs a good rest. Xiao stopped him and thanked him. Lee realized that even though he was a guest in this world, could he lose his humanity? Even if Zhou was out of the game, he was still here. The nurse told Lee that smoking was not allowed in the hospital. Lee apologized and said he was sorry. At the Wing Chun Dojo Club, the coach told Tanchi to concentrate on playing Go. The teacher said that the guy's progress has stopped, and it's because he doesn't think about the consequences of his actions, both in martial arts and in Go. The teacher said that he had heard that Tangchi had fought in the arena, where he had injured Master Quan Shu very badly, causing him a lot of trouble. Tangchi said that he was in his years. Grandfather was also constantly in trouble. Grandfather told the guy that he was a brat, and how dare he reproach him for anything. Grandpa said that he didn't want to hear any more about the guy's participation in arena fights. Usually people who go to the arena to fight for a living put their lives on the line, and they wouldn't blame anyone for their deaths. And Tianchi going there on a whim is clearly not a reason to put his life on the line. The guy said he's been practicing martial arts for over a decade, and he never realized what he was doing it for. Just to keep in shape, to protect his family or his country. The guy said, "Why do they always have to defend themselves when they learn martial arts? Why don't they ever challenge anyone? Why do they even wait until someone comes to their door and insults them so they can teach them afterwards? Why wait for people to label them as East Asian lunatics and then desperately, with their lives on the line, to prove otherwise, to prove that it is costly to insult the martial arts? Why all this?" Grandpa asked the boy. Why can't he take the initiative to promote their martial arts? He's better than Grandpa, so why can't he fight in the arena? Why can't he hurt a follower of another school? Wu said he will fight until everyone in the country recognizes his name. Will fight until they piss themselves at the mention of Wing Chun. Will fight until they shut their fucking mouths and stop talking shit about martial arts. Grandpa said that Wu, at his age, never realized how high the sky is and how big the earth is. Du said that he is only 19 years old. He can't think like an old man at that age, can he? Wu told Grandpa that he defeated him in Go, but Grandpa told him if he gave up, he might not come back. As he left, Wu said that whatever the outcome of the fight, he would never complain in life. June 28th, 1986 is the day to marry, to trade, is the day to avoid taboos. Ms. D told Lee if he took back what he said, she'd think she didn't hear anything. D said that she spends millions of yuan on his performances every night. She spends thousands of yuan on his clothes almost every day. And Lee invited her to a roadside diner, ordered wonton noodles for 80 yuan, and told her they were breaking up. Lee told the waiter to bring another bowl of noodles. You could see from D's face that she was very angry. Lee told D's sister calm down, because it wasn't like her at all. But D stood up proudly and told the guy to listen to her. D told him that if she wanted to, Lee would be feeding the fish at the harbor tonight. She could promise that the next day no one would remember his name in the city. Do you believe her? Lee told D that he really panicked when he heard such words from her. But let's be clear, D never lost money betting on him to win the fight. And all the stuff she bought, Lee said he'd already mailed to her address, even paying the shipping costs. Lee said that he and D have been together for more than 20 days. It is really unreasonable to break up so early, but neither of them will suffer lying in bed because of the breakup. D was very unpleasant to hear such words, but she said it was very good. Lee told her not to hurry like that. Lee said that some martial arts practitioners have certain skills in medicine. The recipe he gave her a couple of days ago is well known because it is very effective for insomnia. Lee said that D is holding a grudge and it's not good for her, so let her take the medicine. She should take care of herself. D said that when she got home, she would flush him down the toilet. 2 days ago, Lee met with the Red Devil, who asked him if he was still living in that kennel and offered to move in with them. But Lee refused and said he was used to the place and was too lazy to move. At this point, Lee knew that he couldn't complain about others or himself. He just didn't have time for that. The alley seems to be without light even during the day, which is why it's so cold here. But suddenly he met the cat and wanted to give it to the girl. When he opened the door, he told Sue that her cat had run away again. When he entered the room, the guy said that it smells even worse than outside, and the windows were closed. When he opened the windows, a man he didn't understand asked him who he was looking for. Lee said that her cat ran away again, so he went to her house to get it back and change the light bulb. Shue thanked the guy for his help and offered him dinner at their place as a token of appreciation. I said okay, Auntie. Lee said that her brother would give her some money to go out and buy some pork for dinner. Sue said there was no need. They had everything at home. Sitting down at the table, the girl's mother said that she wanted to thank the guy for always taking care of her daughter. Lee said, if only for nothing else, his mother has put so much effort into this dinner. He admires her. Auntie's grilled pork is delicious. Lee said that it was strange that the bad smell didn't go away, even though the windows had been open for so long. Next time he would buy some incense to help them get rid of the smell. The girl's mother said it takes some getting used to. Lee said they always feed him. He's even a little embarrassed about it. Her mother said that she and Lee are neighbors, so there's no need to thank her. And Sue is so young, and these constant disturbances on the street, she always worries about her a lot. The mother said that she is not young, but she has a daughter to take care of, and she can die peacefully when she knows that she will be okay. You know, Lee? The guy said he understood her, thanked her for her hospitality, but it was getting late, and he had to go. Lee told Sue that he and Andy should go to bed early, and he would go, and said good night to them. Lee called the Red Devil and said that he talked about the vacant rooms in the house. Are they still there because he decided to move? Lee received a notice that he had obtained a fragment of an ancient story, and he managed to get a part of an ancient novel about the Guho bird. The Guho bird wakes up during the day and hides at night, taking off its bird robes and transforming into a beautiful woman. The bird does not have children of its own, but it can raise a human child. Lee discovered a fragment of an ancient novel about a bird and was surprised to read it. It said that if the bird absorbed this fragment, Lee would be able to obtain a better legacy or greater rewards after completing this shard. Minyu asked Lee, absorb the fragment? The guy said yes without a second thought. The fragment of Chui Nu was absorbed by Guho's bird. Guho's soul was strengthened. Lee said that after successfully closing the shard of Change World, he would be able to receive enhanced legacy or other enhanced rewards. Are there really supernatural forces in this world? Too bad the guy doesn't know the answer to that question yet. Even if the forces really existed in this world, he didn't need to worry about them for now. And the smell he smelled in Shue's house was definitely not the smell of something like rotten fish. Even though the mother said it's an odor you just have to get used to. Lee said it's the smell of a corpse. Even though she was a hospitable hostess, you could say she's dead and he has to move on. Lee came into the house to get his weapon, and this was noticed by Tai Sui and asked him where he was going with her sword. Lee told Tai Sui that he had some personal matters to attend to that had nothing to do with the fights and the arena. Tai Sui asked him what was going on with Miss Rongdi. Lee didn't speak about it and turned his head away. Tai said that women are such creatures. It's easy to get confused with them, but when you get into bed with her, issues of power and influence should be put on the back burner. Lee should let her, but suddenly she noticed the guy's face and asked what was wrong with him, like he was chewing on a lemon. Lee said no, she was imagining it. Tai said it's not easy for her to control the underground fights alone. Why doesn't the guy make it easy for her? He didn't have any problems with D, did he? Such a big sponsor shouldn't be offended. Does the guy realize what she's getting at? Tai asked. Lee said they were all looking at him like he was their little dog. Tai asked the guy why he was staring at her like that. He was talking and talking, and then all of a sudden he's numb. What's the matter? Lee said that he heard that the best fighter of Kowloon Fortress City is not the Red Devil, but her. Why don't they put on their protective gear and spar? Tai Sui smiled and said that she agreed. After putting on their protective gear, they started sparring. While Dee was sat alone at home and said she was definitely not going to let Lee go anywhere, an assistant came in and told her that she was on the phone. Dee picked up the phone and asked Miss Charles, "She's calling so late. Is something wrong?" When the assistant saw Dee's face, she said, "What's wrong?" Dee said that all the antiques that were stolen recently were counted, but a few items that came out of the Chinese master's hand were missing. And this would not even be noticed if there was not a man who offers a huge amount of money for these lost fragments of the ancient story. Dee happened to say that he thought he saw these fragments at Lee's place when he was changing clothes. The assistant said Dee saw him changing clothes, but maybe she did. Lee came to Sue, but the fragments are getting hotter and hotter. I wonder if this is the effect of their increasing thirst. When he went to the door, he saw that the door was unlocked. When he entered the room, he saw drops of blood on the walls. Lee told her it was so late and she was still awake. When he approached her, she didn't make a sound. But suddenly she opened her red and bloodthirsty eyes, and immediately seeing Lee, she jumped on him. Lee managed to cut off her sword arm, but it wasn't enough to kill her as she began to dodge the attacks. Shio's mother turned into a pure monster and looked very frightening. But that didn't scare Lee, so he tossed the ball and stabbed her with his foot. The guy closed his eyes because the blood covered his face. But when he opened his eyes, he saw that it was gone. Lee looked for Shio and asked if she was here, but just as suddenly someone took a sword and stabbed him from behind. It was like his mother's shadow. After pulling the furnace out of his back, Lee told Shue's mother that she was starting to make him angrier and angrier. He wasn't ready to die like this. In fact, he was even more ferocious than she could imagine. Lee said, maybe they'll go to the underworld together. Lee closed his eyes when suddenly she appeared in front of him. When he saw her in front of him, Lee spat blood into her eyes, causing her mother to move away. The boy said that he had bitten the tip of his tongue for a reason, but it hurt. Lee was very angry and struck a blow with his foot, but suddenly Sue came running in with a gun and told Lee not to hit her mom. Lee asked her where she got the gun. Shue was scared and told the guy not to come near, otherwise she would shoot him. The girl's mother saw this and decided to take advantage of the moment and attack from behind, but Lee saw it and knocked her out. Lee snatched the gun from her hands and fired a couple shots, telling her she forgot to unlock the safety. Sue's mother got to her feet and told Lee to let her daughter go. Lee told the girl that she needed to stay in the next room for a while, so she and her aunt had something to talk about. The mother told Sue to listen to the elders and go to the next room. I took her, picked her up, and told her go. Shio asked Lee not to kill her mom, but the guy broke the lock so she wouldn't get out. The mother asked why the guy would bother them. She just wants to stay here and take care of her daughter. Lee told her that today he will send her to purgatory, and he'll take care of her. The mother got angry and asked the guy if he wanted to send her to an orphanage. Lee said she didn't have to worry about that. Lee said that even if Sue goes to an orphanage, it's better than waiting here to die with her. Lee said that he himself used the cell amplifier from the system to survive, so he is not the person to tell you how to live. Lee said he still wants her to look at the root and help him finish this chapter. The mother said, Lee needs his daughter? Lee said it's not her he needs, it's him she needs. The mother said it doesn't make any difference. She can't promise him that, but she has a small request. Lee said that if they continue to fight, he will have a better chance of winning. So she wants to make a deal, asked Lee. The mom said the guy is right, and she's in no position to make a deal with him, but she still wants him to swear to take care of little Sue. Lee said he wouldn't swear to anything. He would just say one last time that he would find a way to take care of Sue anyway, whether she believed him or not. The boy said his mother left him such a deep wound, but the blood is still clotting at an unimaginable rate. Lee didn't wait long to talk and took his sword in his hand and immediately attacked. After turning into a monster, Mother Shue said that she hoped Lee would remember her words and left this world. Lee received a notification that he had succeeded in awakening the remnants of Guhua Bird's soul, and he had completed one of the most important tasks in this shard of the treacherous world. He has 10 minutes in which to decide whether to return to the real world or stay in it. If he refuses, he can return to the real world only after completing all the tasks. The guy said that at the moment, the only unfulfilled task left was to fight in the 7th Division Underground Arena in Kowloon Fortress City. If he failed to complete this task, the rewards he received upon completing this shard would be greatly reduced. After looking at the bird artifact, the guy said he refused to return to the real world. The menu reminded him that the stupidest thing in the world is to put your fate in someone else's hands. Lee cracked the door and entered the room where Sue was waiting for him. This room was completely covered in blood and corpses of people. Lee asked Sue, "Is the gun still on her?" The guy tried to touch it, but Sue held his hand back. Sue couldn't help herself and bit the guy's hand with tears in her eyes. The guy told her enough and told her to follow him. They moved into a new house. The guy told Sue that she would stay here for a few days. And after a few days, the guy would find a way to send her away from this town. Sue said that he shouldn't worry about it, because she doesn't want to see him ever again. Lee laughed and said he was going and she was staying here to wait for him, and slammed the door behind him. Lee left the room hoping that he would have a few days, but then he got a call from Dee, wondering what he should talk to her about. Picked up the phone. The guy asked her how she was doing, and had she used his prescription yet? Dee said she flushed it down the toilet. Lee said she must have wanted to vent her anger. Dee said that really, well, it's not his ancient useless papers, is it? The guy asked how she knew about it. Dee told him loudly to leave her alone and not to call. But the guy did not understand anything and decided to call her again. He said that there are a total of 5 fragments, 4 of which are now in his hands. The guy thought she wouldn't be looking for the last fragment. Besides, the last fragment should be here. The boy knew that this fragment must be in the hands of another man sent to this world for the same purpose for which he had been sent. Dee said that the guy recently became a new fragment of that bastard he. Now it seems like he doesn't have to worry about starving to death anymore, right? The guy was saying how these people managed to make this delicious cake. Licking his fingers, he smiled. Dee said he can count on him anytime. What about the subject of their deal? The guy said, why don't he and her discuss the price of the deal first? Dee offered him $100 grand, but the guy immediately raised it to $200. Dee didn't talk long and was ready to leave. She said the guy was too greedy and she hoped he had some more prospects, because she was very optimistic about him. The guy immediately stood up and told her to wait. If 200,000, then 200. Dee smiled immediately, because she knew that he would agree. Dee told him to hand over the item and take the money and get out of here fast. The guy said Dee didn't think he'd take an item worth 200 grand with him to the deal. They would have to drive to his house so he could give her the item. Dee agreed and said no problem. Dee's guard showed the guy the gun and said she wanted to remind him not to pull any stunts. Lee thought that this man must be the guy who had been leading him around for days on end. He was always hanging around in crowded places. When Lee fought with Zhang, there was a fragment in the building at the same time. Then all of these fragments were in his hands. Lee thinks he had no trouble guessing who he really was. It seemed to Lee that he would deliver the remaining fragment himself to his door. But the man had disappeared, and Lee had not heard any news about him at all. What Lee didn't expect was that he might know about his relationship with Dee, or that Rong Dee was going to kill him. Lee said that Dee Soma found him. His month to complete his assignments is coming to an end, and out of nowhere comes this patient adversary. How complicated things have gotten. Lee went to the guy's house and picked up the phone and asked him where to find it. The guy laughed and asked Lee what he wanted. The guy said he'd be waiting for Lee in 20 minutes at a rental on Portland Street. Coming to Portland Street, Lee was surprised by the many lying people around him and wondered how Rong Dee could have gotten into this trouble in the first place. A system message told Lee that a fragment of an ancient tale was found nearby. The guy said that this time they were sent by the changing world to the Shard of 1980. Hong Kong at this time is a very prosperous place. This means that he can score a good number of system points, even if there are some restrictions on their maximum number. Dee told the guy if he wants money, it's a solvable issue. After all, there are quite a few of her people in this place, and it will be quite difficult for the guy to get a ransom for her kidnapping. She can help him get out of the neighborhood unharmed, but for that he must immediately call an ambulance and take her people to the hospital. The guy told Dee not to worry so much, because that sister is so snarky, just like him. So he's not going to let her die so easily. The guy said, and as for Dee saying they can get out of here, she's kidding, right? The guy said that this is his home, and only he decides who leaves, who stays, who lives, and who dies. The last word will always be his. Dee asked the boy, isn't he an orphan? Besides, he had just arrived in this city. How could he know about Li Ge? The guy said she thought to find out about his background, which is good, but maybe she should have found out her lover's background. The guy felt and couldn't believe that Lee had really come. This is the 4th shard of the volatile world he enters. But even though he successfully closed the previous 3 shards, his specialization is not martial. Before a person gets into the changing world, he usually masters some abilities that are inaccessible to ordinary people. It is commonly called specialization or talents. This specialization will be what the person will initially rely on in the shards of the changing world, as well as these talents are associated with further directions of development. The guy said that his specialization gives him an advantage during investigations, which is why he was able to recognize Li Ji's real identity before he did. However, in battle, the combat effectiveness of his specialization tends to be nil. The guy thought about how he would be if his opponent turned out to be someone who practiced martial arts, but his skills were much rarer. Huge Serpent of Gluttony, this legacy can only be obtained by closing one of the shards of the volatile world, impossible to obtain in the system store, against the right to additional purchases. A huge Serpent of Gluttony is hungry from the moment it enters the shard of the shifting world. After the owner of this legacy releases the serpent, it will be satiated with both food and system points. Lee said that he should think it over again. He might not even have to bear his sword. There are always bodyguards with guns near D. If they have guns, then those same guns can be used without even using them for their intended purpose. It will be enough just to scare him. And from that, there was no point in going to Rong Di's rescue. If his opponent had really outstanding abilities, he wouldn't wait so long to start causing trouble for him. If Lee had nothing better to do, he would have shut down this shard of the world long ago. This guy's calculations are based on his negative reaction when he hears the news from D. But what would have happened if Lee had just ignored her efforts altogether? Isn't his scheming useless? Lee could set the place on fire and smoke it out. Even if this act causes great damage and makes someone unhappy, these people are still nobody to him. Even Rong Di has only known him for 20 days. Lee said that soft-heartedness doesn't suit a man, even if his actions could get her killed. After smoking a cigarette, D said that there is no obstacle in front of the tiger, no obstacle in front of him. When he looked into the room, he saw the guy who had a gun in his hand. But Lee wasn't unarmed. He had a gun too. So when he entered the room, he shot the guy. But the shard told him that he had encountered the power of the snake of gluttony. Lee read the message shard and rushed into battle, and he was not even afraid of it because he had to get the last fragment. Lee used all his strength and skills to slay this snake. But the guy was not a bad guy either and used a gun. But Lee was fast and had time to use his knife, which hit the guy's shoulder, and he squealed in pain. The only thing left to do was to finish the job, so he decided to strike and knock him out with a leg kick. But the blood from Lee's stomach did not stop. He decided to use a gun and shot. The guy had time to defend himself with the tail of the snake. Lee saw that bullets were useless against the snake, so he decided to use his strong hands to fight, grabbing the snake's head. But the snake didn't give up either and sent him through the walls. The guy said Lee was dead. Dee told Lee to hurry up because she could hear some noise downstairs. Lee said not to worry so much. As soon as they get free, have Dee jump out the window and leave as fast as possible. Dee said that maybe the noise is because of Li Ji's arrival behind them. Lee said that even if he came, whatever he did would be useless. She thinks that this strange snake can't be killed at all. Lee said that she has lived in this world for 28 years, but she has only heard of such creatures in ancient novels. What is going on here? She even thinks that this world has gone crazy. Lee told Dee that when she jumped out of the window, immediately have her find people to call the police. Dee had no fear in her eyes and took the gun. Lee asked her, "Don't do this. It's better to save herself." Dee pulled out the bullets and said that they were useless against the snake, but that she could be hurt by them. Dee pulled her shoes off her feet and told Lee to try to take care of herself. She's coming here to help. But the battle between Li Gu and the guy was still not over. Both of them were strong and were waiting for the moment when one of them would make a mistake. Lee cut on the snake's mouth and said that it was very strong. Perhaps it has special strength. If it touches him, it does not matter whether the mouth is open or not. It seems that in any case the snake will take a bite out of him thanks to this power. Lee said that its forward speed was very fast, but the same could not be said for the speed of its maneuvers. He also noticed that it became slow if it was far away from its owner. Lee said that the spirit of rage, which was also the inheritance of an enlightened beast, was just a skill of the system, not a true enlightened beast. And this snake is no different from this spirit. One look is enough to realize that snake agility is out of the question. Lee said that you can't get a tiger cub without entering the tiger's den. He went straight to the guy to attack. Lee said he's already identified the guy's biggest flaw. How's he going to talk now that he's been hit? Lee managed to get this guy. Putting his hand in the snake's mouth, he struck the bastard hard. The guy saw that he was doing badly and activated his quick glance skill. the yellow bandage spell. This is a healing skill that activates automatically when a user's damage may be incompatible with life. The boy started to run away, but Lee told him to stand still. After wrapping his bitten fingers, he applied the medicine. Lee, through the pain, tried to catch up with this guy to take away the last fragment. You could see from the guy's eyes that he was scared. The guy insulted Lee as a crazy bastard and wondered how such a person could even exist. I mean, the guy calculated the timing, the location, even the hostages. He's already silent because this is Lee's first shard. And Lee said the guy doesn't even have a legacy. When he found the door, he remembered that the woman he cares so much about should be here. And maybe the bodyguard's gun is still there. He still has a chance to win. Opening the door, he only saw the bodyguard. The guy asked her where her mistress had disappeared to. The girlie told the guy he could ask his mother. The guy couldn't stand it and hit her. Taking the gun, he told Lee to stop playing dead. Let him get his ass over there. Lee asked him, was it worth it to run away from him in such a hurry? Didn't he want to play with him some more? The guy told Lee, isn't he afraid of his huge snake of gluttony, which means that there is no way he could be the person who first entered the shard of the changed world. Lee came out to him with a gun, and when the guy saw it, he asked what he was holding. Lee said to the guy, isn't he holding an M1923, and is the guy sure that he can control this gun with his left hand at the proper level? Lee asks him if he's ever tried to hold something like this before. Lee suggests that he let the woman go, and then he both get rid of the weapon in their way. Lee G's girl told Lee good to shoot while he can. He has no ammunition in his gun. The guy with the snake tail took the gun away from Lee and asked, what is he trying to do? He doesn't have any ammo either. Lee managed to get to him. Pouncing on him with his fists, he punched him so hard that even the guy flew back against the wall. The guy got a message that his specialization level was forcibly lowered by 10%, while Lee managed to find the enemy's weak point. His attack damage will be increased by 100%, and so will his speed. Lee managed to get him with his knife and stabbed him in the neck, from which so much blood was spilled. The knife was on the ground, and Lee felt his knees seeing the guy die before his eyes. That blood wasn't just spilled. Lee asked the girl why she was lying there like a thunderbolt. Lee said he would send her to the hospital soon, and asked where Dee was. As he picked up the girl, he heard police sirens. He looked out the window and saw the beautiful girl Dee, safe and sound. By killing this guy, Lee, due to this achievement, he got all his purchase rights and 30% system points. But unfortunately, he does not have his heritage, so he is not given the opportunity to eat a huge snake of gluttony. That night, Lee went to the liner where he ordered noodles. Dee said she hoped he had had enough. Dee said if that still wasn't enough, let him have a good meal and she would talk to him. Lee said he sure wouldn't mind another bowl. Lee told the waiter to bring 10 more bowls of noodles. After eating them all, Lee said he couldn't imagine where he could eat so well. Dee said this boat will be theirs all night tonight. She booked it in advance, so they have plenty of time. Dee told Lee to tell her why he broke up with her. Lee smiled and said maybe the magic shell would answer her question. Dee said it's because of Tai Sui. Lee spit the beer out, but Dee told him not to play dumb. Lee said that a sharp sword needs a good scabbard to rest after bloody battles, not another sword that can be sharper than his own. Dee asked him what he was talking about. Lee shied away from answering and said that the cooking here is excellent. So let Dee call the chief afterwards. He must know how he cooks it, and then even if he leaves this city, he can cook it himself. Dee asked him where else he was going. Lee said it wasn't where he was going that mattered. It was the journey. Lee said that about the breakup, he keeps asking himself the same question. Did he lose his mind? After all, Dee has a cute voice, a hot body, and a lot of money. All he had to do was put her to sleep, take the money, get the hell out of here. Who could find him? The guy realized that he did not know exactly when, but at one point he made a vow to himself that this good girl he would never hurt. Lee said he thought Dee was playing him at first. Dee said, who would play him? Dee told him to go since he'd had enough. Dee asked him if the guy had wanted to talk to her about it all along. Lee said that in gratitude for her rescue, let her do him a favor. He has a roommate. But suddenly Dee couldn't resist and kissed him. When Lee came to the new apartment, he told Sue to try the pork he had cooked for her. He really tried hard. Sue got angry and asked Lee where he was last night. Lee said he had some personal business to take care of. Lee said that he had taken care of all the formalities, and Sue could now go to school. The guy told the girl that he would introduce her to a very distant relative of her family. It took him a lot of effort to find her. She's ready to be her guardian. Legally and logically, she's more qualified for the job than he is. Sue said her family came here to escape the famine. So how could any of her relatives be here? Lee said that before she disappeared, what her mother said should not be untrue. Sue said, even if it seems small to her, don't think she is so easy to deceive. Eli said that her mom wanted her to have a good life. But Dee broke in and said, who knew her aunt would be in this town, and she couldn't even see her while she was alive. But nothing. She'll take good care of the daughter she left behind. Dee told Shu that she can call her Rongdi's sister. Shue's eyes showed that she was very happy to see sis Rongdi, and she hugged her so tightly out of happiness. When Lee saw this, he was surprised by the acting skills of this beautiful girl Rongdi. He even got a little excited. After sleeping with Lee, Dee said that little Sue, quite very interesting to Eli, told the girl that she is her cousin. Lee said he hoped that in the future he wouldn't be in a situation where someone would tell her that she had no relatives, that she was abandoned, that she had no mother, but that she shouldn't be spoiled too much and should finish her studies first. Dee said that with Lee's damaged right arm, it would be very difficult for him to defeat that boy. Wang Jiangyu, with his heritage as a huge gluttonous serpent, is indeed a dangerous opponent. But Wang's own fighting skills leave much to be desired. Sometimes even his erratic command interferes with his natural hunting instinct, a huge snake of gluttony. And even the fragility of the human body proves that in death there are too many weak points, striking which can take a person's life almost instantly. If, let's say, Xiao and Ban, the latter is likely to win. Then in the confrontation between Bu and Ban, the latter will not necessarily be stronger, all because they will use the power of legacies in their confrontation. In other words, Wu's legacy attacks would likely be quite effective against the gluttony serpent. And still thought Lee, after all, life is not a computer game. Here opponents in the future will be many times stronger than those that he has already defeated. After all, each person has its own way to victory, and the outcome is affected by both intelligence and strength and banal luck. At the end of this shard of changing world, he too will have a chance to have his own legacy, just as Wu and Wang once did. Lee asked the girl if she wanted him to win. Dee said of course. Lee said he would definitely beat him then. Red Devil said that Xiao used 8 Neo Knives and mana. Is Lee still sure after that? The Red Devil asked if Lee still wanted to use the sword. Lee said that unfortunately he had injured his arm, and although the sword that Tai offered him was an excellent item, it would require too much energy, so he wanted to change some things. Red asked the guy what he had decided. Lee said that Bagua had a kind of family weapon for checking meridians. From the side, this weapon looks like a slightly deformed mathematical X sign, and there's a special gap between the two blades. Tai asked the guy, would he use one of his left hands? Lee said that was more than enough. Tai said he was crazy. Red Devil said he would go and prepare everything. And Li Tai was left there thinking about the fight. Red said that Zayun Yanyu is a paired weapon. He is only going to use one left hand, which is also not his main hand. He thinks that his chances of winning are too small. Li said that he had been in this city for so long, but he had never fought a Red Devil. How would he like to spar a little, Li asked. Red Devil asked how he felt about Tai Sui's organization and him. Li said it was very good. Red said he should tell the boy that he'd grown up on the streets and had never practiced martial arts, but he'd been born with the ability to fight and those hard fists. He's not one of the ungenerous. Tai gave him food and shelter, so he'll give his life for her if he has to. So what's he saying? The Red Devil said, if he's nice to others, should others be nice to him in return? Lee told him to tell it straight, no need to dodge. Red Devil said that Tai asked him to find out if the guy was willing to disappear and not fight this fight. Lee said if Tai wants to kill him or make him disappear, then let him finish tomorrow's fight. Red Devil said that the guy is now being protected by Rong Di. Would he dare to touch him at all? Lee knew that from the first day he was here, this guy cared for him. Let the guy show him something. Let it be a thank you for everything. Lee told Red that he suggested he think about it and weigh everything, because Tai's anger would definitely get the best of him. The Red Devil started laughing and threw a cigarette at Lee, but suddenly he came after the cigarette and hit Lee. Defending against his blows, the guy said that he was ready for the first blow as well as for the second elbow. But that's not all. It's not the end. Lee said that Red almost caught him off guard, but he is always ready to repel a blow for a blow. The Red Devil said if the guy's so insistent, why not? And so they fought fist to fist. But suddenly Tai came in and told him to stop, which then Lee started laughing. The Red Devil told him to laugh only at his own ass. Tai told him to stop. If he has anything to say, then let him wait until Lee fights in the arena. Tai turned around and wished Lee a fair wind. Lee had a serious injury to his right arm, and his strength level was 82%. As he prepared for battle, the guy said that it was ajar during this month, most likely due to the constant dangerous fights. With the help of TS blood cell enhancer, his specialization level had risen by 1%. D asked him if he was really going to leave after this fight. Lee asked her how she knew that. D said she checked his bank account, he withdrew all the money, and, somehow she doesn't think he spent $5 million. Lee took out a box from his pocket and told her to take it. D was so happy and asked if it was his ancestors. Lee said he bought it yesterday. She can use it to smoke, and then her hands won't smell like cigarette smoke anymore. Moreover, she should look very good when she will use this thing. After all, she has the appearance of a real movie star. Dee asked him when he would be back. Lee turned around and said he would be back when he had the chance. Dee ran up and hugged him, telling him that she had left him a present in his room so he wouldn't forget to pick it up. It was the day of the battle. Facing each other, Sue said, the more unusual a warrior chooses a weapon, the faster his death comes. Had Lee heard of such a saying, he asked. Lee didn't say anything back to him, and Sue got angry, saying that he was actually talking to him. As the fight began, Sue didn't wait and decided to attack first, but every one of his punches were repelled by Lee. Sue said that Lee had almost fooled him, because if he moved his wrist upwards, he could easily put his hand down. The heat was rising with each attack of the guys, but each attack of Sue was repulsed, and Lee managed to damage the guy's arm. Lee said that he had never had the chance to fight a person using Brother Shamdu before, so he was honored to fight him today. Lee said that he doesn't see anything wrong with it. The weapon that Sue sees in his hands is called Zayuanyanu. Lee said that today he would let him see what is commonly referred to as the double brilliance of the sun and moon. Shue said that of course he would upset him, but he was only using one Zayuanyanu, so whatever he showed him would only be a pitiful shadow of something bigger. Lee said that Shio was using 2 hands, and soon his throat would be bleeding, not just his wrist. Shu said he didn't think so and attacked him, but Lee repelled his attack without any difficulty. He said that now his left hand that he uses to use weapons is also wounded, so what will he use to attack him with? Lee didn't wait and attacked him in return, injuring his face. He said that this technique was called the Golden Silk Thread Throw. Ty's girlfriend said that she thought this guy named Lee Gu would lose in this fight. Ty asked Mei if she was interested in watching the battle in the arena. If she wasn't, then why did she choose to accompany her today? Mei said that the battles in the last division don't happen very often, so it's very rare to see them. Ty said that it seems like all Mei has been doing lately is being lazy, and let her believe it, she'll find something to keep her busy. Mei said all she does is bully people all day long. But still, tell me, Booze, how does she think Lee's gonna lose? Sue said to choose the lesser of 2 evils, his fierce opponent, practitioner Bagwazang. Lee saw the look in his eyes and realized that Sue was about to attack. Lee was ready for it, and once again they clashed weapons. Sue was smart and pulled his second sword into the fray and with more force began a charge at Lee. But Sue managed to thrust 2 sabers into his hands. Lee regained consciousness and took action in time to land a leg kick on SJ, who moved away from his hand. The blood from the bodies of the guys slowly oozed out and covered the arena. Sue said that 2 dragons were coming out of the Li at that time said that a Wing Ching practitioner with a weapon in his hands became a real insidious snake. They faced the weapons again, but none of them retreated and were ready to fight to the death. Lee managed to swipe his blade across Shue's face, but he was not frightened and attacked him again. Lee said that he used the weapon in one hand, but he was also not at his best right now, so he could only use his weapons half-heartedly. Lee said that the only thing is that this kid is quicker than him to adapt to the unusual weapon in his hands. The same can be said for his reaction time. At 19 years old, Lee decided to use his previous attack again, but this time Shui reacted and stepped back. Shui smiled and said that he wouldn't step on the same rake a second time, and he wouldn't let it happen to him. Lee decided to just let go of his left hand. People wondered if he was going to surrender in a fight like this. Lee decided that he would fight in hand-to-hand combat, but Su did not support his decision and attacked him with a gun. Mei asked why Lee threw away his weapon. Tai said he decided to fight in a similar way, just using his brain. Shui managed to wound Lee again. Blood increasingly splashed from his body, but no one gave up. After being able to fend off Shui's attacks and grabbing the sword with his bare hands while attacking, he decided to use the blind spot. Tai knew that it wasn't that simple. Shui had reduced Li Ji's mobility with his action, but deliberately opened up in one direction, all in order to take his wrist in a grip. Su managed to land a punch and told Lee that this kick he had promised him would bring him back. But in a moment, Shui realized that Lee had fooled him. This blow, it was not strong at all. Because of this, Lee almost didn't fly off. Instead, he put his left foot on the ground and jumped up. In twisting the neck of Su, Lee was on top of him, but Su was confused and took a weapon to fight. But Lee said he was boring. Let him not break the rules anymore. Su said that he lost that. I advised him to go to the hospital soon. His other eye can still be saved, that if he becomes blind at such a young age, it will make him useless. An ambulance rushed over and took Shu to the hospital. And Lee entered the arena and raised his hand like a winner. Red knew that when Lee tossed this child into the air, it was clear that if he resisted, his neck would be broken, and if he didn't, he would be defeated. Either die or accept defeat. But this asshole was still angry about his defeat. Those who hurt others, knowing that they have already lost, deserve only death, said the Red Devil. Grandpa Shu said to take him to the hospital, and starting today, he forbids anyone from their dojo to visit Kowloon Fortress City. Lee received a notification that all the tasks had been completed in this shard of the world-changing world. Within 10 minutes, he would be able to receive the full reward for his achievement. Lee thought that Su went to school today. He wondered if he told her that he would be gone when she came back. Would she be unhappy about it? On his way home, Lee met Tai Sui on the way home. They only exchanged glances, but did not say anything to each other. When he entered the room, he saw the gift Dee had left on the table, but there was still a note on top of it. In the note, Dee wrote that she remembered what he said the first time she and he were in Victoria Cove. After opening the case, he took out a sheet that said that he had managed to find a souvenir of this shard of the shifting world. If he used this souvenir, he would be able to activate the beginning of the next shard. By activating this souvenir in an already active shard, he would be able to improve his original position. Lee remembered Dee telling the waiter to bring 10 more bowls of noodles and smiled at the pleasant memories. Message to him said that he was able to successfully close this world-altering shard. The total number of successfully closed shards so far is 1. And in a moment, at once began the counting of time, .in, which Lee remembered the whole month at once. The fondest memory he had was the time he'd spent with Dee. After the closure of this shard, it is not in its best condition, but for this recovery, points will not be deducted. Lee saw an open door in the shard. The message told him that he still had 1 fragment from this shard of the world-changing world in his hands. He can enter it into the system right now. If he accepts it, his final purchase rights will be increased. The guy decided to enter it. He got the purchase rights to increase by 10%, and the limit of 200% was reached. Also, he exchanged 20 gold scrolls for system points. This gave him 2,000 system points. Lee received a special award for completing this shard, and since the main leitmotif of this shard was Gu Ho's bird, the award will be directly related to it. Lee was in terrible pain when he accepted the gift, but at first glance he thought it was no big deal. Lee said he wanted to check his authorization to buy. Suddenly, a list of items opened up in front of him. In 1986, in Kowloon Fortress City, the Red Devil told someone to give it their best. In recent times, the battles have really left a lot to be desired, and the arena is filled with scum. Red Devil told the guy to fight hard, If their man will not show results, then no one could do it all. Understand this guy? But suddenly a guy ran into the hall and said something in the Red Devil's ear. Red asked what happened to Tai Sui. Lee's notice said that the purchase authorizations have been transferred. Let him note that the purchase of these goods can only be purchased in this room. Once he leaves this room, he can no longer purchase them. Lee said that until now, he had felt sad about not being able to make this sword his own, very pleased to be able to get the opportunity to purchase it for only 100,000 yuan. Lee said to see 10,000 scenery to take one swing and succeed, he wished them a successful cooperation. Sword Han. D decided to purchase more firearms, but he didn't stop there, so he chose 2 items. Lee said that he couldn't take advantage of it. He had already reached 83% in his ancient martial arts specialization, so it was quite obvious that he wouldn't be able to take advantage of such low-level offerings. The guy decided to acquire the Bagwazang technique, and now he has to make the gun more accurate. Minyu told him that he has unlocked a specialty firearm, and the current experience value in firearm specialization is 38%. Lee said that Xiao was stuck at 69% in the ancient martial arts specialization, and he was stuck at 89%. It wouldn't be easy to break through further. After firing a couple of shots, Lee said that he felt he was more skillful with the gun, a feeling that he felt the gun in his hand like a solid, a feeling that can only be achieved after countless hours of training. But suddenly, he saw a person and wondered what it was. They were Curiosity's blessed Hongmin tattoos. In Kowloon Fortress City, Tai Sui asked Mia where the man she was talking about was. The girl said he was right here in the house in front. Tai told her to show her the way, when suddenly someone started shooting and killing people over and over again. Tai turned around and listened to Mei. She told Tai that she really didn't know what was going on. Tai told her that it's every man for himself here. And of course, she believes Mei. She remembers Mei coming here. Back then, any man could ask her out for just 200 yuan. Mei said that Tai said she wanted to follow her, and she believed her. Tai said that she has spent so many years with her. How can she not believe her? Tai told her that he knows how hard it is for her to look for her brother alone. Even if she encounters difficulties, let him just tell her. Mei started crying and told Tai that she had to do it. They kidnapped his brother. Mei fell to her knees and started crying loudly, tears flowing like a bucket. Tai asked her, so she admits it? Mei was decapitated before she could say a word. Tai told the Red Devil to stay and remove the body, and the others could go back. Only one blessed Hongmin tattoo could be purchased in the Curiosity section. The effect was to reduce the damage received from gunshot wounds by 5%. Lee said that in order to acquire the essence of firearms, he had to spend 200 system points, while the same ability requires 1,100 system points. Having acquired this skill, Lee, as if reborn, and said that it turns out his name is Hong Dun. But to him popped up the skill spell Yellow Bandages. The guy said that this skill, to have it, is almost the same as having a second life. Unfortunately, he can't acquire it. He has to acquire this spectacular skill, but it's still not bad. Having it is almost the same as having a field medic on hand. However, he doesn't even need to use bandages or anti-inflammatory medications with this one. Lee said that this is all he can acquire. He doesn't even know whether to laugh or cry that he can't spend all his points. The guy decided to use an ES amplifier to recreate blood cells when a clown jumped out and started calling him names. The guy couldn't help himself and destroyed it, but suddenly an artifact fell into his hands. It was a blood-soaked scrap of black magic. Carrying it with him would increase his resistance to black magic a bit. The guy said, "What a useless piece of crap," took it and threw out the open door, and he was very disappointed that he didn't get everything he wanted. He went through the open door and climbed the stairs for a long time, but suddenly he saw a bright light in front of him. When he entered it, he found himself lying on the couch in his store, and he felt funny about what had happened. At Hong Kong Airport, the operator said that those who pick up passengers on Flight 10 should note that Flight 23 to 45 will arrive here at 8 o'clock. Lee arrived in Hong Kong. The cab driver asked him where he was going. Lee told him to take him to Luncheon. After arriving in Luncheon, Lee told his grandfather that he had learned that the fortress city had been destroyed, and there were many things that almost no one remembered. Could the respected elder try to remember everything carefully? Grandpa told Lee what kind of story he was telling, since Grandpa had been living here for over a decade. He knows about the city police and the security committee, but what about Tai Sui and the underground arenas? Sounds like the plot of a novel. Grandpa said that this is just a slum and there is nothing special here. Lee asked him if he knew Rongdi. Grandpa said he knew about her. She's the one who was supposed to build that big office building back east. Isn't she? The guy said that's right. This building belongs to Rongdi, and this land is her new feeding ground. The boy asked, what about her daughter? The elder said that Lee was delusional. Rongdi had never had any daughters until her death. When Lee heard this, he was very surprised and saddened and decided to go to the park to sit and rest a little. Lee angrily squeezed the can of water and threw it into the trash. A passerby asked him why he was so angry. He had recently recovered from a serious illness. Lee asked him if these people were just his obsession. The fat man told him that if he thought about it carefully, he would realize that people are not able to travel through time and space. The fatty asked him if he had heard of the time paradox. However, it really wasn't an obsession. In this world, no two leaves are exactly alike, but there are many leaves that are similar to each other. So if it was all an obsession, how could his illness be cured? Asked Ta Jack. No one's saying he's not under an obsession. Lee asked him if he's talking about parallel worlds. Lee is right to call them parallel worlds, but the differences are different. He's afraid the guy can't even imagine how big they are. Humans have always tried to explore the universe, but in reality, humans don't even know much about the ground beneath their feet, so they can see the real truth. And they have omitted the infinite possibilities of the future. The fat man said that in his last theory, Stephen Hawking, who recently passed away, tried to prove the existence of parallel universes. So he assumed that in one of the many worlds, he is fully healthy, loves to run and play sports. Lee told him that he didn't really understand what the fat man wanted to tell him. The fat man said that the Chinese usually say that the teacher didn't talk about miracles, the physical power of chaos and spirit. Let's just assume that the witches who were burned at the stake in the Middle Ages actually had unusual powers, but in the end they are all dead. Now, Lee, imagine again what would have happened if kings in the Middle Ages had not had problems with their heads and had not claimed that all witches were evil. Fatty thinks that then with the help of their unusual abilities would be launched a real magical revolution, and its consequences would be no less than the Industrial Revolution. And like such a revolution, Lee's life will now also undergo a startling change. This is the opportunity he spoke of. Lee said that he seems to be starting to understand a little bit. Moreover, his story is really good. Fatty said that he would give him another example. Let him imagine that she had actually appeared in their world, and so the fashion of breathing exercises quickly spread. So overnight martial arts techniques became a reality. Behind them, the secrets of cultivators began to be born one by one. As a result, the rules of the similar world would also change, and as a result, the parallel worlds were no more. Lee said if he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have thought the fat man was leading him around by the nose. The fat man said that the shard of the world Lee has been to is inextricably linked to the world he knows. But at the same time, due to certain circumstances, it has been changed beyond recognition. The changing world, or yin fu that he knows, is actually Nanjian Futi, which is essentially an epic treasure tree that gave birth to an entire world according to legend. And each fruit on this tree is a separate world. Among us, there are those who, like ladybugs, are able to move between the fruits to drink their wonderful nectar. In Lee's own words, they are shard travelers or yin fu travelers. The fat man said that he had some urgent business that he had to deal with immediately. If the guy still had questions, he should ask them as soon as possible so that he might not have a chance to see him again in the future. Lee said that in the fickle world, there are different ways of strengthening, among them legacies, skills. Could the fat man tell us more about it? The fatty said that he would tell him about legacies. In the fickle world, putting aside a few exceptions, legacies are divided into 10 categories, namely heaven, earth, human, spirit, ghost, guardian, scaly, armor birds, and beasts. Each Yang Fu heritage has its own advantages and disadvantages, but there are no differences among the categories. For example, Suzaku belongs to the bird class and Lang belongs to the ghost class. But even so, Suzaku is still superior to Lang. Lee asked, then what category does Guho belong to? The fat man told him not to worry, because Suzaku wouldn't be able to defeat him, so he shouldn't worry too much about the legacy categories. As the level of awakening legacy increased, Fatty said, a person's physical performance and even their lifespan would be greatly increased. However, the main focus of these 10 categories was something else. Simply put, the spirit of rage, that legacy of an enlightened beast, it belonged to the beast category, which meant that this legacy greatly increased the self-repair ability and the ability to hold a punch in its possessor. Huge gluttonous serpent in turn belongs to the category of scales. Their development is very slow. Nevertheless, this heritage allows them to literally dominate subordinate creatures. Fatty said that it was strange, but the system shows that the battle between him and Wong is not over yet. But let Lee forget, this kind of thing often happens. The fat man said that Lee Guho's bird was a bird, so his specialty would be to increase his speed. Advancement to the middle level will be smoother, and a bonus to all this in the form of protection, which is no stronger than that of kitchen utensils. But this, of course, applies only to the usual representatives of the volatile world. Do not forget that there are still a huge number of all kinds of monsters. Lee asked him how he could increase his awakening level. The fat man said that Lee needed to absorb the yin fu memorabilia to do so. These are the so-called gifts that the tree gives them, the ladybugs. But do not forget that although he can have several legacies, he can make only one main one. When Fatty first entered the changing world, the legacy he started with was that of Huodo. In the Book of Mountains and Seas, it is recorded about this rare monster that he is able to command flames. But in the end, he finds that the taper suits him better. For skills, there are 2 ways to get them. One way to get a skill is to increase the level of awakening legacy that Lee already has. The second way is to buy the skill directly from the system store. But in this case, you should pay attention to the following. Sometimes some skills conflict with each other. Less often the conflict may arise, and at all between the skill and heritage. True, Lee will be notified of this by the system. It just needs to be pointed out, and specialization represents a person's qualifications in a particular field. Toshak told Lee to imagine that 2 people have gained inner strength. One of them is the world champion of Sanda, and the other is the director of a nursing home, who he thinks will encourage them to fight. In simple terms, heritage is akin to a profession in the game, while specialization is his hard work. The fat man asked the guy if Lee Gu understood what he was talking about. Lee asked, then who are the shard travelers? Fatty said that it was time to tell Lee about a few rules. First, all disagreements between shard travelers can only be resolved during a confrontation in the shifting world. Interfering with the lives of ordinary people in reality is not allowed under any circumstances. Secondly, no information about the changing world can be divulged. Thirdly, try not to use heritage or artifacts that clearly show that they were not obtained in this world. In the case of self-defense, of course, he will still be able to get away with it, but this case will still not do without checking. Fourthly and finally, the launch of the next shard of the Change World happens every 2 months, so before his departure, it should find a secluded place where no one can disturb it. If he wants to return to the same place he was sent from, it's best to find a place where no one will show up, and that's it. Lee asked if he would now be on the verge of death 6 times a year for the rest of his life. The fat man said that no matter how negative the answer might be, that was the outcome. Ian Fu didn't need anyone's lives. Besides, if Lee wants to control his own destiny, he must constantly fight for his survival. Fatty said that he had sent many newcomers to the changing world, and among them, there were few who could receive such a high grade in their first shard. Now, he could wish Lee good luck, and he hoped that this luck wouldn't leave him too quickly. The fat man said those who stumble are worse than insects. He hopes Lee can see him in the future. It was raining heavily, and Tai Sui asked the guys, are they standing there, or are they waiting for her to kill herself? The guy said that a man who turns his back on a changing world will one day no longer be needed. Tai said, aren't they ashamed to say things like that? They're not 5 years old. Turns out the fat guy's a pretty cool guy. He couldn't find her, so he asked him to do it. Fatty said that he actually just wanted to train the newcomer, who would have expected that he would come across such a big fish here. Yin Fu has so many fruits after all, it could be said that he was very lucky, and he actually managed to find Tai. Tai said that even if he found her, what could she stand up to the 11 of them, she asked. The girl said then let her go find out for herself. Tai dropped her zone and turned into a beast. But suddenly a red devil came running and told Tai sway. The girl told him, didn't she say to get away? In one of Jiangzhou's old houses, late at night, a guy was practicing his wrestling skills. But suddenly his phone rang. He was told that Li seemed to be really full of energy. Apparently he was not planning to go to the next world anytime soon. He was really recovering. Li said he still has his life to live, and he can see that the guy won't wait for this moment to mourn him at the wake. Li asked how Zhang was doing. He hadn't seen him for many years. He said he didn't know how Dao Jing was doing, but he had heard that she had gotten married and had been living in Shandong for many years. The guy told Li not to take his brother for a fool. Maybe actually Chinese medicine will cure his disease. Li said he's going to see him soon. The guy said that's great news. He'll ask his sister-in-law to organize a great table. Li said that the Yin Fu Tree Traveler will open another shard very soon. Since Li has a special souvenir, he can use it to change the current shard. And if he has no desire to change it, he can still donate his souvenir to improve his status in this shard of changed world. After his status is upgraded, he'll get extra help. And Li said to donate. By sacrificing a souvenir, this sacrifice gave Li Gu a higher status in this shard of a changed world. Li woke up lying on top of the corpses. He said, bleeding at the beginning, what a good sign. As the last battles within the country died down, Toetami, who had united Japan under his command, sent his troops to Korea. The army, under the command of great generals, built up over a century of warring provinces, finally decided to drink blood outside their own country. In 1 month, 3 Korean capitals fell, and all major roads were captured. Li's son managed to escape from Weiju and sought help from his suzerain, the Ming dynasty of China. Emperor Wanli in the future war appointed Li as commander-in-chief of the Shaanxi army, Sun as minister of economy and strategy in the military department. Then 40,000 armies stepped on the thin ice and headed for Pyongyang. But before the 40,000-strong army set off, Li Rusong asked Qi, with his small army of 3,000 men, to come to the imperial court, because Qi himself had already had experience of fighting the Japanese. At this time, gunpowder weapons were still rare, which means that the era where edged weapons dominate the battlefield was not yet over. However, due to incorrect information provided by the Korean side, their army was defeated and forced to return. Li said that the Imjin War was a troubled time. Li needed to hold out until the first trilateral peace talks. The Shah told Li that thanks to him he had avoided his fate for a long time, but now he wanted Li to repay his debt. Li thought he was talking about the events of those days. Li said that to compete with someone in the arena really sounds like fun because it is not the same as going to the breakthrough, crashing into the ranks of the enemy army. The task this time is really much more difficult. Li said that heroes appear in troubled times, and the real winner is determined on the battlefield. The hero of this era, he really wants to meet him. His current identity is General Zhu's chief flag bearer. He has 3 flags under his command, which is approximately 20 people. Shard told him that the firearms he had purchased had been delivered. Let Li remember to carry them with him. And it's all because it can't be hidden, transferred to someone by creating a cache, because the remaining shell casings and all the other components will simply disappear when he gets 200 meters away from them. Li said that the gun and grenades can only be used as something unexpected. He can't rely on them too much. After all, they are not weapons of mass destruction. Li said to fight a strong opponent, you have to be strong yourself. Such a crushing battle. But he definitely shouldn't be the only one who survived. Li said that he should only get a glimpse. The Shard said that Nikomata, a beast type of uncleanness, has the ability to control corpses due to rotting attacks contain poison, whose danger level is light red. Li took a gun and aimed at the monster's head, but suddenly the bullet lodged in the monster's skull and fell. The monster pounced on Li, but the guy managed to pull out his sword. Li said that it was really incomprehensible If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed that they really existed. Lee managed to push it away and drew his sword. He slashed the monster. But it didn't die, and the guy kicked it. It was obvious from the monster's appearance that it was tired from its breathing. Lee said that he shouldn't underestimate this monster. After all, this is both his world and not his. The monster decided to run away, but Lee did not leave him and said that no one would let him do it here. After cutting the monster in half, its upper torso was still alive and attacked the guy. The guy used the star body skill, which had an attack speed and attack power increase of 90%. Lee successfully destroyed the werewolf, and he advanced in the process of completing one of the quests. But he noticed that this monster scratched his neck when suddenly someone grabbed his leg. It was a live man who asked Lee to help him. His name was Dan. He had a high fever and a moderate trauma. Lee used the yellow bandages spell of restoring Q.I.L. I asked what his rank was. The guy said his name was Dan. He was the captain of the 6th Division of Chungwu, and he asked what his savior's name was. The guy said his name was Lee, and he was the 2nd Division flag bearer of Chungwu. Dan said that this lowly man was greeting the master. Lee told Tian Song what he thought. He didn't need to rant to him much about the current situation. He suggested that he inspect it here. If they find any more survivors, he would try to save them. If they can't be saved, he suggests to ease their fate. Lee said that their imperial army consisted of 1 million soldiers, and even if they were defeated, the imperial palace would inevitably return and take back what was rightfully theirs. Lee told Dan that he saved his life. Tomorrow he'll take the lives of these traitors, so why get discouraged? Dan got down on one knee in front of Lee. The guy asked him what he was doing. Dan said that he swore like this in the imperial court, and just like this, he had just bowed to his savior. The guy said that Dan is an ordinary person. He would even say that he's a little rough, has not very good eloquence, but if Mr. Standerberg does not dislike him, then this old Dan would like to give his life to his savior. Lee said that today they were lucky to be with him, and now they are brothers in misfortune, at least as long as their lives are inextricably linked to him. Lee suggests looking around first. Maybe they can even save a few more of their brothers. Lee said that although the yellow chi restoration amulet could be used no more than 20 times, he should use it while he had the chance. In the midst of a complex and oppressive situation and the Mezan War, the power of a single person seems extremely insignificant, but the position of the standard-bearer in such a situation is that he must make clear to the lazy bunch of people under his command. If gathered together, they become agile tigers and ferocious dragons, which in turn can fight even on sharp needles, relying on the skills they have learned. But at the moment, he can only recruit the most reliable people to his team, all because he is afraid that otherwise, when he arrives at the main camp of the Ming Empire, he may be a pawn in front of the horse of the commander-in-chief. Suddenly, some guy asked for help, saying he was a centurion from the Chang Division. In the future, he will definitely pay tribute to the high-ranking centurion, but riding Lee will save him. Lee raised a huge gun and told him that there was no need to panic. Honorable centurion, he would definitely save him. But first he wanted to know something. The centurion told him to hurry up. Lee told the honorable centurion, right now all the brothers are scattered around the battlefield, and they're being attacked by these Japanese wacko, and it just so happens that he, because of his rank, may have the highest position among the brothers, which can help him lead them. And right now, Lee doesn't quite understand how he should act. Could he, the honorable centurion, answer the question of how he plans to deal with his brothers later? The centurion said that first let Lee remove this thing. Let him call more people and remove it. Otherwise, he will skate away from the pain. Lee said that there was no need for that. Lee lifted this huge gun from Sotnik's back and released it. Lee said that he thought the best thing to do now was to gather all the brothers and go in search of the main force in the direction of the Yalujiang River. The centurion asked the guy if he was out of his mind. There were at least 10,000 wacko on the Korean borders, and given that, they would be wiped out before they even set out. Lee asked what the honorable centurion had in mind. The centurion said it was best to hide somewhere first, then change into the clothes of ordinary Koreans, and only then think about the next plan. Lee said that they may not fight yet, but they can gather all their brothers and arrive at the main headquarters as soon as possible. Now his proposal, honorable centurion, looks rather suspicious to their troops. The centurion asked, "What does the guy even understand?" "It's called a strategy, which is based on retreat." Li said, "Should the honorable centurion think it over again?" The centurion said that he was the person who had the highest rank in the entire battlefield, and would Li dare to disobey his orders? Li grabbed him by the throat and said to the honorable centurion, "After all, he turned out to be an ignorant moron." Dan told the honored standard-bearer. Li asked what Brother Dan was up to. He said they were probably able to catch the Waco infiltrator. Li said that since it's a Waco infiltrator, he knows what to do with it. Why would he report it? Dan said that the man was hiding in a wooden barrel when he opened the lid and he began to gibber something in Japanese. The guy said, "A respected soldier of the Imperial Army. This lowly man is just an ordinary interpreter from the Seoul city government, and he followed Deputy Commander Ja all the way to Pyongyang." Li said that the guy understands Japanese. The guy said that this lowly man went to sea with his father from the time he was a baby, where he learned a little Japanese and the Honghosa dialect. Li asked, "What is the name of this honorable brother?" The boy said that this lowly man had admired the culture of the Han family since he was a child. So his surname was Song, but because he was the second eldest in the family because of his respect for his second uncle, he decided to take the name Song. Li took him by the neck and said that he has a good name, because Song Tong is translated as in the belly of the enemy. He and his brothers just want to find a way to survive. And now they will travel south to return to their camp. And along the way, they will be forced to take advantage of his mentor's terms. Song thanked in kind. He would have no problem helping them. Song said that these soldiers turn out to be pretty brave guys, even though Waco had practically taken over all of Korea's territory, but they were still willing to return to the main army camp. Sun said it's almost as if the Konishi that currently occupies Pyongyang is now a dead man. They're heading straight to their doom. Li said that this man standing in front of them now, although he shows a face like he respects us, has a black heart inside, and leaving such a person behind is like committing suicide, but if he knows about the threat, it is as easy as killing a chicken to end it. Li told Brother Tian Song that they're not familiar with this place, and it just so happens that they want to survive, but if they want to survive, they can't do without this man, so if he dares to even think of escaping, let him kill him immediately. Li looked at the men and said that they were wounded and exhausted. They couldn't fight, and if they met Waco on the way, it was all a waste of time. But it will be different. If they recover from their injuries, their fighting ability can no longer be compared with the ability of one man, and in this case, his efforts will not be in vain. After all, the war is just beginning. Entering the small village, Song knocked and said that they were warriors from the Ming Empire Army, coming here to fight these Japanese Waco. Grandpa told him to go to someone else. No need to cause him trouble. Li opened the door and told him he didn't want to be here. But Grandpa pulled out a knife and defended himself. Li told Sun to tell him that they were regular soldiers, not those lowly Japanese Waco. And one of their brothers was wounded, and they needed a basin of hot water. Li told Su to warn him that they are not going to make jokes, nor do they understand the jokes themselves, but they are not going to intentionally ruin someone's quiet life. Li asked his brothers if anyone had any silver. The boy said that he had a pendant made of pure silver that his mother had given him a long time ago. Li told the fighters that they can search the place, pay attention to what they can use in the future, and don't forget the food. Li told the guy if he found the silver here, he could safely keep it. How much to embezzle? Let him decide for himself. After all, his pendant, Wang Sheng, is worth quite a lot of money. It would be a shame to lose it like this. Li said that it would be very difficult to break through the surroundings of such a large group, but suddenly he was told that Waco was coming here. Li told Wang that he should carry the injured brother to the kitchen. The others should immediately go down to the basement. Tianxiong should find clothes for them to change. The Waco soldiers entered the house. Opening the door, they started to search for people all over the house. Li activated a quick glance and said that they were both ordinary Waco, but their specialization had reached 70%. One of the Waco told Sun to come to him. Tianshun told him if he dared to ask for their help, he would be the first to die. Waco asked him if he spoke Japanese. Sun said he knew a little, but not much. Waco asked why there were so many people in their family. Sun said it was their guests. Wacko took cookies from the table and scattered them around. Wacko approached Lee and asked him if he knew Japanese, but Lee was silent, and that pissed Wacko off. But suddenly one of the Wacko noticed a girl in the corner, crying and scared very much. The girl's mother said she could provide food for both of them, but the Wacko told her to be quiet. Lee stopped him and said that it's not his daughter. Why get so heated? Their company was on the verge of ruin. Do they have the right to stand up for justice now? But they disobeyed him and came closer and closer to the girl. Then the father of the girl intervened, but he was hit. Then they grabbed her and pulled her to them, but the girl could not and cried out. These people were so hungry that they stuck out their tongues. But suddenly the girl's mother ran out with a knife, and the guy couldn't take it anymore and told Waco that he had his ancestors on a merry-go-round. Waco drew his sword and tried to kill the guy as Lee intervened and grabbed the weapon from his hands. Lee didn't hesitate to slit his throat, the blood spurting so much that the whole house was stained with Waco. When the second Wacko saw this, he let go of the girl and decided to attack Lee, but he immediately ran into his sword. Lee didn't talk to him or listen to him and chopped off his head with a single sword stroke. Dan took Sun and pinned him to the floor, saying that he said he wouldn't tolerate any tricks. Or did his admiration for the Han family's culture imbue him with a sense of humor? Translator's song? So much so that he swore in Chinese, even in the face of death. Sun said that they call themselves soldiers of the Imperial Army, but they are no more than dogs of the Imperial Army. The King's Treaty generally gets for paying exorbitant tribute every year. Sleep will tell him. In return for his tribute, he gets the defeat of his 3,000 men. Usually, when they start harassing and humiliating their wives and daughters, they pretend to have eyes in the back of their heads. The people of the Ming Empire are being bullied, and they're just going to let them get away with it. For them, the people of the Ming Empire are the people and the people of Korea. No, Lee hit him and said that it was not for him, a poor soldier, to decide whose lives were more precious, the people of the Ming Empire or the people of the Joseon dynasty. But he still wants to ask Sun a question. The people of his kingdom Joseon deserve to live, but the soldiers of their men warriors. So he realizes that they don't. Lee said that they put their lives on the line to destroy their enemies, to protect their land and the people of Korea. But when they needed help, that stupid peasant didn't even open the door for them because he was afraid of death, and after that he was supposed to think about his well-being. Lee said that he still wanted to ask a question. This bastard dared to raise a kitchen knife on their Ming Empire soldiers. But how come when Wacko appeared, who broke into his house and decided to rape his daughter, he only knew to bow to them and beg for mercy? Lee punched him and said he was asking him why the fuck he didn't dare raise his knife on Wacko. The dream said that if they want others to not look down on them, to value their lives as much as their own, then make them see what the value of their damn lives are. Lee's men said they dumped both bodies in the ice hole, and there were no tails. Lee said that's great, but they can't stay here long. Lee told the youngest of them that this thing would help him with self-defense. This Japanese had a good sword, but could he get used to it? Dan said he was more used to using the swords of their Ming Empire. The elder said he would use it when he followed General Qi. He had had a chance to practice with Japanese swords in his camp. People are fighting in this chaos, mostly relying on the weapons they hold in their hands. In other words, most of the 92 people who were killed this evening died by his sword or his hands. Lee said to Old Man Diao, after all, he was seriously injured in the last battle. Will he be all right? Lee threw the sword to him, and Jiao said that everything would be fine, that he told Lee that this Ronin definitely couldn't have low status. The average infantryman would rather use the pike than wield a shorter sword during combat. Such well-made katanas are usually used by people of higher status among the Wacko, and are commonly referred to as Hatamoto. The boy said to Jiao, who would have thought that he knew Wacko so well. Jiao said, what does a boy realize? When he started killing Wacko, he was still a boy running around with his fly unzipped. Jiao said, compared to the swordsmanship skills of Banner Lee, his skills, of course, are not even worth mentioning. Among the 3,000 soldiers that went to the last battle, there were people from Liaodong and even legendary warriors from General Qi's army. Even if they didn't have complete intelligence, even if the general underestimated his opponents, an army like this couldn't be completely wiped out. But the Edaime army, which survived the Sengoku period, should not be discounted. Their wars also have their own peculiarities. Lee told Sun that they wanted to avoid unnecessary encounters with Wako and head for the Yalujiang River. How best to do so? If there is one way, they should go from here and circle the Shishan Hills. They could find a small defensive weapon. Once the imperial court was located there, and the garrison had about 20-something people. Sun said that he didn't know how many Wako were located there now, but there couldn't be too many if they broke through that barrier now that half of the job was done. Lee said he thought it was too far. Dan said, wouldn't it shorten the distance if they went along this river? Sun said there's plenty of Wako by the river. Don't bring it with you if you're going to die there. Dan said he doesn't think they're taking any risks by going through the Shishan Hills. But can they go directly? Sun says they can try it, but he warns that it's very dangerous. The chance of being discovered there is also quite high. Lee said that means the situation could take a turn for the worse. The long and laborious journey around the hills is just one of the sections they will have to overcome. The area Song was talking about is quite open, but the chance of being spotted by Wako is quite low. However, if it happens and Wako has cavalry on hand, they will not be able to escape. Lee said that there is one thing, but crossing the hills will not only be fast. Even if they are discovered, the hilly road is difficult to pass, so the cavalry pursuers should not be expected, which means that they should have more strength. Lee asked his mother what they were talking about. Sun said that the girl had said that there were ghosts in the hills, but should we believe a child's story? Dan said that this old dad had lived over 30 years, but had never encountered anything like this. If they meet a male ghost, it's no big deal, but if it's a girl, it's more fun. Uncle said that this ghost story may indeed be nonsense, but do not forget that when the destruction of the country is just a little bit away, evil begins to emerge from every crevice, and now there are corpses scattered everywhere, and there is no telling what kind of creatures may appear because of it. Lee said if there's bad stuff out there, that's even better. So they headed along the river. The man said the two men left the squad and said they would catch up with them later, but then they found the bodies of the two men. He wondered how he could explain everything to Mr. Kuroda. The guard said that the Korean militia had probably passed along the frozen river, and they had done it. The guy said that the marks were wiped too clean. It couldn't have been done by the rabble that gathers in the Korean militia. In that case, do they want to investigate the case? The guy found the iron and said it was a very sharp blade. He told the Scarlet Four to follow him. They should definitely catch up. The guy asked Lee what was wrong and why they had stopped. Lee asked Tang Xiong how long they had been walking. The guy said they had been walking all day, and they had reached the middle of the mountain. Lee said that during this time, they had not come across any village or any inn. While they were walking, he had even forbidden making fires to keep warm. Now they suddenly came across a lonely house in the mountains. He told the boy to go ahead and check everything. After knocking on the door, a beautiful girl opened the door. Song told Jiao that his mother had once told him that on the day of the big snows, the intelligent cat had turned into a girl. If this girl succeeds in seducing him, he will inevitably turn to stone. So if there are evil intentions lurking deep in his heart, it is better to stop them at the root. The guy said the girl lives alone, so she let them stay the night. He doesn't think there's anything wrong. Lee said even a blind man could see that. So they all went inside and sat down to eat. Lee said to the girl, she's not going to eat everything from this big cauldron by herself, is she? The girl smiled at his question. Lee grabbed her and said that she seemed to have lived in the mountains for a long time. She must not have heard the latest news at all. Lee said that they had come here from the distant Ming Empire, and she could help them solve a problem. But the girl did not hold back and slapped Lee. The fighters were surprised to see such an action. Lee said that everyone will start to get on duty. At dawn, they will hurry up and get away from this place. If everything goes well, they will leave this mountain before sunset. The guy told the kid to take some soup to warm up and gave him bread to eat. Lee said they don't know what she might have put in the soup, so they should be doubly careful. He told everyone to distribute the bread. Lee realized that they trusted him completely. It didn't seem to be as dangerous as the constant life and death battles he had experienced in that underground arena. Here, if they want to break through the siege and save their lives, it won't be enough. Uncle told Lee that as long as they had a fire, he would like to go outside for a while to collect some ice. Then they would melt it so they would have water to drink on the way. The guy told him he'd better sit here and rest. He'd go get the ice himself. Grandpa said the kid thinks he's so old that he can't even do this kind of work. The guy told him that his words hurt him, as always. Grandpa told him to look at him and the big guy. If he had so much confidence in his strength, they could fight him, but he could still easily put him down, believe it or not. The guy refused and said he was just being silly, even though he wanted to help him from the bottom of his heart. Lee told him to try to be back before dark. Grandpa bowed and said he'd be back before dark. The young one gave him a weapon and said that if he ran into any animals on the road, they could fill their stomachs. The old man said that the kid had a beautiful way with words. But suddenly some man kicked in the door. This guy saw the guys and drew his sword and said something in Japanese. Dan told Lee to look at their blades. This guy saw them and said they were bastards from the Ming Empire. While the old man was walking in the forest and breathing fresh air, he found a deer and decided to kill it for food. But on his way back to the house, he felt someone following him. So he turned around and saw the enemy and threw everything on the ground and drew his sword and called them the fucking Waco dogs. The guy didn't hold back when he heard that Japanese guy call them bastards of the Ming Empire and pulled out his sword. The Japanese didn't wait for them either and drew their swords and went in a battle. Their weapons were burning in flames as they clashed with the guy's weapons. Dan managed to save the man and told all the wounded and unarmed to get behind their backs so they wouldn't get hurt. But suddenly someone grabbed the boy with the gun and slowly strangled him. It was the girl who took them in. A Japanese man saw this and decided to cut the boy. But suddenly someone fired a shot and everyone froze. It was Lee. He told the Japanese that he had a pretty good blade. He asked what Lee was trying to accomplish by pointing his toy at him. He had already taken his one shot. Lee fired again, and the bullet passed near the Japanese man's head. He was very surprised by it, because it could have hit him. Lee told him he could try again to guess whether or not he was out of ammo in his toy. The Japanese didn't listen to him and tried to kill the boy again. Lee didn't wait and shot again. Lee said that there was something wrong with this guy. He aimed straight at his chest, but all 4 bullets were quickly deflected. Lee activated a quick glance and saw that this Japanese man had the art of spirit cultivation. Threat level red. The Japanese asked how far the Ming Empire had advanced in the development of firearms so far. The Japanese said that something is wrong. Emperor Wanli's army is quite far away from Pyongyang, which means that they're the survivors of the recent battle who were able to get away from the battlefield. Dan said that this Waco bastard knows Chinese well. The Japanese said that means they went to the mountains to escape from possible searches, right? But Lee's men are badly wounded. Lee said that he only needed 1 shot to make 1 more dead body among them. So what could he do with his side? Lee shot at the enemy, but he managed to repel the bullet with his sword. Lee told his men to take 2 steps back. Lee said that when he shot at Chi-Bei, this kid was moving so fast that it was almost impossible to make out his movements. But when he shot at the samurai who was far away from him, this kid's speed was much slower. It's somewhat like a gluttonous serpent, but the only purpose of this serpent is to attack. This guy's ability is more like a curse. Lee said it was already dark. Uncle Jiao should have returned long ago. This monster again decided to attack the child, when suddenly it was seized by the girl and pressed at her chest. The Japanese said they just have to wait for Yamamoto to come back, and they'll do what they have to do. Lee said that they can't wait any longer, when suddenly the door opened. Diao told Lee that Wacko had already appeared on the mountain. Diao brought the head of this Wacko as Lee immediately shot at the samurai and hit. The Japanese told all his men to move back. Lee said he emptied his clip and drew his sword and told his men to kill them all. Dan tried to kill the samurai as his sword broke from the enemy's blow. The guy threw him another sword, and Dan deflected the samurai's blow. The battle was not for life, but to the death. No matter how hard it was, all fighters fought to the end to defeat these things. The clashing swords even made squeaking sounds and slices of flame. I decided to attack the main Japanese. The Japanese realized that Lee from the Ming Empire is very strong, but this is not a reason to be discouraged, but to fight to the end. The Japanese man withstood Lee's blows, surprised that his hands were already drained, and shouted for Lee to attack him. While Dan fought like a true warrior, Li told him to let the samurai go, followed by a sword thrust at him. Each fought as the last warrior and did not retreat, but their battle was on equal footing even though the samurai were outnumbered. But suddenly everything changed, and Li's fighters began to lose, accepting defeat with swords. Surrounding them and trying to protect people guys said that their blades were very fast, while the samurai used the power of warrior spirit. Seeing his men's head, the samurai was surprised. The guy told Diao to get away from here, but Diao drew his sword and pushed him away. Li saw that his guys started to lose, and he went to help. The Japanese didn't like it, and said that they would regret it. Li used Kong Ho Kin's 24-sword rotation style attack. The Japanese realized that he had fooled him. After killing the spirit, his tattoo began to burn with fire, but the Japanese man was very weak at the time and began to spit blood. The Japanese told Li that if he wanted to catch bandits, he should start with the leader. Li put his sword over his throat and told him to order his men to stop. The Japanese said that it seems like fate is thanking him, which means even 100 bastards like Li are no match for him. And today, he managed to catch a big fish. Li told him to go, when suddenly a snake head came out and tried to bite Li. Dan told Li to finish what he started. The blood-soaked sword he took and cut off the Japanese man's head. Menu said that the target is destroyed when the skill is reactivated. The additional damage will be 0%, and the skill will be unavailable for an hour. Dan managed to stab the samurai and remove his sword. Trying to pull it out, the samurai held it tightly in his grasp. But suddenly the samurai attacked Dan with his sword, and Li ran up and stopped his attack with his sword. After analyzing them, Li realized who they were. One was a warrior spirit, and the other was a soul-consuming spirit. Li looked at them and told his men to let go of their weapons so they could help him break their formation. The samurai told Li that he simply didn't have the ability to kill Mr. Chi-Bei. The samurai probably said that Li was just using some kind of ruse in their fight. Li asked if they were really that dumb, or if they were pretending. The samurai didn't talk long enough to attack him, but Li told Dan to throw his sword at the samurai. The guys started throwing things at them to disrupt their thoughts as Li pulled out a gun and killed them with 2 shots. Li saw Jiao wounded and gave him a gift of a taper, which should definitely cure him of death. Li said that when he was younger, he had met a Taoist monk and was lucky enough to receive from him sword skills, 1 pill, and a conspiracy that he had used before, all in exchange for 3 cakes. Sleep came and told Li he had bad news. The woman who was here before had disappeared. Li told the boys not to worry about it. It was better to let them rest while they had the chance. Tomorrow they still had to bury their fallen brothers. Li fell asleep, and suddenly in his head he began to hear screams, sounds. Opening his eyes, he was lying under a tree, as suddenly appeared that girl. She crept up from behind the tree with slow steps, and placing her hand on his chest, she healed his neck wound. The boy warrior suddenly woke up and started screaming. Dan said that he really saw a ghost above his head. The boy said that maybe it was some kind of immortal who knows what it was really like. The guy told the boy that he almost skated yesterday. Why is he so energetic today? Why is he smiling so much? Did he have an erotic dream? Li asked Dan how long he'd been asleep. The guy said he'd been asleep for over 4 hours. And Li, there really was a ghost here. The boy smiled and closed his eyes and saw that girl and told the boy to bring him a bowl of soup. He said he decided to check it out because he had samurai as his guards, which meant he couldn't be of low status. And it turns out he's the son of Kobayakawa. Li said that the guy is the commander of the 6th Toyotomi Army. But doesn't that mean that killing his son is a great achievement? This achievement can help to move up at least 1 step in the army. Li told everyone to rest, as they had been walking for more than half a day, and Song Tong had also put in a lot of effort. And when it came to merit and awards, he would definitely not forget his contribution as a translator. Li told Dan not to worry so much. The old man wouldn't just give his life to them. The old man said that the ability to brag about life to the very end isn't always useful. The elder told Li that he had made it clear to him that he did not want to drag them down any further. Li said that he had made it clear to him that they would get him out of here. The elder was very badly injured, but he cut off the samurai's head anyway. So doesn't he want to be rewarded for it? If he doesn't want to ask anything for himself, should he think of his son? Dan said that back in the early years of his reign, the emperor had issued a decree stating that it was necessary to reduce the number of Wacko, and in order for the war to take care of that, there was a 20-coin bounty on Wacko's head. For the head of samurai reward is all 100 coins, and the person who kills a samurai will receive the status of centurion in the army. Li told him that he advised him not to worry about anything else. Deng said that old man Jiao didn't mean to say anything like that. Li said that it doesn't matter, pack up, the road to the camp will not be easy at all. Anyone who is willing to follow him should put their lives in his hands. Li, the standard bearer who is currently the leader of their group, will definitely bring them to the military camp, and let them remember he doesn't need rewards or honors. Li said that their commander, who had lost such a crushing defeat, was probably already in the Ming military camp and receiving his well-deserved lashes.